I'm Scott Hansen, host of NFL Red Zone. Lowe's knows Sundays hit different when you earn them. We've got you covered with outdoor power equipment from Cobalt and everything you need to weatherproof your deck with Trex decking. Plus, with lawn care from Scott's and, of course, Pit Boss grills and accessories, you can get a home field advantage all season long. So get to Lowe's, get it done, and earn your Sunday. Lowe's, official partner of the NFL.
Today, we'll have Jessie's Disney World and Universal trip. That's coming up on this episode 485 of WDW Prep To Go. Hello and welcome to WDW Prep To Go, where we talk strategy and ideas for people planning their Disney World trips. I am your host, Shannon Albert from WDWPrepSchool.com. Thank you for being here for episode 485. Today is another trip report. This time it's with Jessie. She just recently went to Disney World over fall break, and she and her family did a split stay that included Shades of Green and the Polynesian. So I'll have that in just a moment. As always, a reminder to follow on social media. And I wanted to mention Patreon. So in addition to editing this podcast today, I just edited a video for Patreon about how to start a podcast, because some patrons had said that they were interested in learning more about that. And there was enough of them that I said, let me do it. So that video is up on Patreon, but we have a lot of content. I think there's something that goes up like 4 or 5 days a week over there. So if you want some bonus content, if these long episodes on the main feed aren't enough, we've got more over there. So please come, welcome, join us. I think that is it. Let me let you listen to my chats with Jessie. Welcome to podcast, Jessie.
Thank you for having me. Such a lovely thing to talk to you.
We're talking on Thursday, October 2nd, and you are headed to Orlando soon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, tomorrow evening we're heading down there.
These trip reports sometimes are closer to the dates. We've had some that were like a couple months out, and sometimes they're right. So it's fresh on your mind.
It is.
The benefit to that is we're going to know a lot more about your plans, including things like lighting lanes. So we'll be able to talk about it. So
Yep.
Your trip is October 3rd through what?
So October 3rd through I guess it will end up being the 12th.
12th.
Yeah.
Okay. And who's going on the trip?
So it is me, it is my husband, Ron, and our 2 kiddos. Isla is freshly 14, and our son, Barrett, who I will likely call Bear throughout this entire thing if I bring him up, is almost 11.
Okay. All right. And is it safe to say it's not a first trip?
It is not. So we have not been to Disney World since they were 5 and 2, but in the meantime, we have done Disneyland in California and Disney Paris because we were stationed overseas for 5 years. So when it's a 3.5-hour drive down the street, you go to Disney Paris.
Yes. And now that I know that you aren't too far away now from Florida. So I guess
No.
it's a one near Florida kind of thing.
Yes. And we just moved here last year. We'll likely move again next summer. And so I don't know where that will be. And so I said, well, while we're at least relatively close to Florida, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, I like it because you told me before we started recording that you're a military family. And so I
Mhm.
like that. I know there's a lot of downsides to that, but I like that you're like, well, if we're going to move around, I'm going to go to the nearest Disney thing.
It's true. It's
And
true. Yeah,
Makes it
might
a
as
little
well.
bit makes it a little bit more fun, I guess, to look forward to the new things.
Yeah.
So that'll be good.
Yeah.
Okay, and you told me you're in northern Alabama. So does that
Mhm.
mean that you are driving or are you flying?
No, we are driving because we're going over our kids' fall break. And so the price of airline tickets since the whole, city is going on fall break, were astronomical. So we are leaving tomorrow. We'll stop about halfway in a hotel and then drive the rest of the way on Saturday.
Okay, then that kind of gives my notes a kickstart because I have all the dates written out. So Friday, October 3rd, you are driving
Yes.
and staying overnight. Do you already have like a spot picked out? Or you're just gonna figure it out?
We have an area picked out, but I'm not sure if you're aware, there's a current shutdown of our government. And so while right this minute at, almost noon on Thursday, we're still a green light to go on our trip. I have to hold off and wait. So it's just, I'm not doing it until I know we're going because it's one less thing I'd have to cancel and likely pay for a cancellation fee. So,
Okay. All right. So you will stay somewhere midway, and then Saturday, October 4th, you will drive the rest of the way.
correct.
Okay. And where are you staying when you get to Orlando?
So we are doing a split stay. We are doing our first 5 days at Shades of Green, which is the military resort hotel on Disney property. And then on Thursday, we will move to the Polynesian. We're doing a DVC point rental there because we've always wanted to stay there.
You won't have to go far to make that move.
I mean, we can't do the pathway anymore, but we can at least, loop around in the parking lots.
You'll have your car, and you can just drive it a quarter mile, whatever the distance is.
Exactly.
Okay. So we don't have a lot of military trip reports. So can you explain a little bit about Shades of Green? You have to be a certain status to be able to book it.
Yes. So, and it's part of a larger network of some different resorts around the world. And so you have to either be, now this changes occasionally depending on a few things, but typically if you are active duty, a reservist, or a retiree, then you are eligible to stay there. But I am not a representative of Shades of Green, so please check their website.
Yes, this is just your personal experience. And have you stayed there before?
And we stayed there one time when my husband and I were engaged. He was temporarily stationed in the Panhandle of Florida, and we did not have a whole lot of money. And so we stayed at Shades of Green, I think, for 2 nights and went to Magic Kingdom for 1 day because it's all we could afford to do. But that is the only time we've ever been there. But we had stayed at the military resort in Germany several times while we were living there. So we know kind of it's kind of like, it's just a themed, like, pick up and set it in the same spot, in a different spot.
And my understanding is the rooms are very big, right?
Yeah, they're good sized rooms, and they've got, great bathroom. They've got like a sink outside. So like 2 people can brush their teeth at one time. And they've got a few different restaurants of different types on property. The pool is fantastic. They've got their own buses that will take you to the parks at Disney. So yeah, it's great.
Will you be using their transportation?
So we will likely use their transportation to Disney, the Disney parks, because they don't provide transportation to anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to kind of see how it goes for the first little bit because they only pick up and drop off at like the ticket transportation center. And so that's a little bit wonky. So we may end up just doing some kind of Uber Lyft situations out of efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it has kind of some off-site elements, on-site elements, and like the transportation is definitely one to consider. Okay, so on Saturday, October 4th, you're arriving at Shades of Green, and then what is your plan?
So we are doing Universal first. We have never been to Universal before.
And you're going there on Saturday?
No, we are going on Sunday.
Okay, so anything else on Saturday before we go to Universal?
So I will say on Saturday, because our tickets were purchased for both Universal and Disney, we purchased our park tickets through the ticket office on the military installation because they're at a discounted price.
Mm-hmm.
But for Universal, we have to go to the City Walk and activate them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we will do that on Saturday evening and just go to City Walk and kind of check it out and do that part so that we're ready to go on Sunday morning.
Okay, so you're going to Universal, but just not to the parks on this day.
Correct.
To activate your military tickets. Are you going to do anything else there? Dinner or something?
Well, we might. I'll be honest. I think the rest of the restaurant options at Disney Springs are more appealing than that at Universal. I could be wrong, but at least what I could tell, nobody throw tomatoes at me for that.
I don't think anyone listening to this is going to throw tomatoes. I think Universal, like City Walk, has a lot more chains, maybe.
Right.
Are familiar, and that it can be kind of comforting when you've been away from home for a while.
Yeah, we have a reservation at 1 on Monday evening, but other than that, I think it's going to depend on how we feel. If we want to mess with trying to eat out on a Saturday evening, especially when how the horror nights and stuff is going on, or if we'd rather just go back to the hotel and eat at one of those.
Okay. So then let's talk about Sunday, October 5th, where you are headed to Universal.
Yes. So that is our Epic Universe Day. And we purchased our Universal tickets were a little wonky because of Epic being so new.
Mhm.
That our Freedom Pass from Universal gives us tickets to the two original, like, regular parks. But Epic, the only way you could add it and get the discount was to wait until you got to Orlando for them to give you a date to use them on. And that was not a gamble I was willing to take. So we bought the one-day tickets for Epic through Universal directly. And so we are doing Epic that day. We did not book any Fast Pass, whatever they call them there, because if you think Disney is expensive. But
I know they have a reputation for being so expensive. I'm like, have you gotten park to park tickets and tried to skip the lines at Universal?
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
No. So our top priorities for Epic are Super Mario Brothers and Harry Potter, because I am a self-proclaimed Harry Potter dork, and I have been looking forward to this for a very long time. So I'm really excited about us going and exploring around there all day.
Okay. And do you have touring plans kind of written out? Like, do you know what order you're doing? Are you rope droppers?
We will likely rope drop that because I don't think it opens until 10 that day. So even my late morning people, I think I can get out the door on time for that. And then we will drive and park at Universal because there are no buses from Shades of Green, like I said. And so I think it's like $32 a day to park, but it's maybe $20 to $25 a day for an Uber. So, I mean, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. We'll test it out the first day and we'll see what we think. And then we'll decide if we want to Uber it the other days. But I have a general idea of a touring plan, but nothing as like timed and devoted as it has been for Disney.
What do you think you'll do for food on this day?
I think most of our eating will likely be in like the Harry Potter area, just because of we want to have butterbeer, and they supposedly have the Three Broomsticks has some decent like British fare, and I've heard it's not bad. So I'm willing to go. I'm willing to go check that out.
I do quite enjoy all of the Harry Potter related food items.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. That's what we've been told as well. So we will see.
That and Mythos. That's
okay, the Greece place. Okay.
Yep, very good. Okay, so but you don't have like dining reservations. You'll just kind of wing it and figure it out when you're there.
Yeah, because it's a first time for us, I didn't want to confine us to like, we have to be back somewhere by X time. And my kids are bigger now where I can just be like, I can throw a churro or something at them and tell them to go get on another ride.
And speaking of your kids being older, do you think a lot of times Universal is thought of as an older kid or adult park? So are they into like the big coasters and all that kind of stuff?
My daughter, 100%. She and my husband are both like huge roller coaster. Like the crazier, the better. They love them. My son is kind of got to catch him on a good day. Like if you can get him on the first one, he's great and he thinks it's amazing. But you just kind of have to get him over that fear threshold a little bit, which is fine. And I'm going to take Dramamine and pray kind of gal. So
the non-sleepy kind?
The non-sleepy kind. I have the one for kids. It's non-sleepy. I have the Bonine for me, but I can get car sick if I'm not driving. So we will see. I know there's some things I just flat out won't be able to ride, and that's okay. But like the Harry Potter stuff, I will 100% need to go on. I don't care.
Forbidden Journey.
That's the one. See, that's the video thing. I know I can't do that, and so that I'm annoyed with that I can't do it. But I
don't get motion sick except for that. And I'm like, if there's only one thing that hits me, I assume that it'll affect those of you with motion sickness way worse.
Yes, Soarin' doesn't bother me, and I don't know why that is. But we went to Legoland in Denmark, and there was a Lego movie ride where you like sat on the double-decker couch, and it was the big wraparound screen. It was not a good day, Shannon. It was not a good day.
I understand. That's rough, and it lasts a little while. It can last all day. You never know.
Yep.
How long do you think you'll stay on this day?
The park's open till, I think, 10 o'clock, which is cuckoo bananas. I don't know that we will do a full 12-hour day, but, we'll see. I think also, of course, the weather is like a chance of rain and thunderstorms every single day of our trip. Once we leave, it gets great. So I think we have to be a little bit Gumby with that too. Of, just kind of, we may need to pop in and hang out for a bit. So we'll see.
Yep. Always a chance. Hopefully it won't be and it won't interrupt too much.
I hope not.
Okay, then Monday, October 6th.
Monday, we are going to start at Universal Studios. And of course, we like the tickets. We can ride, do the train and be able to ride between the two. And again, there's some parts of both parks that we are like super pumped about, and other parts where we're like, we can definitely skip that. So we're just going to wander and enjoy it and stand in lines and ride things. So we will, I've looked at crowd calendars, and I think we've done this pretty well based on like what is expected, especially with like the Halloween, the like scary party stuff closing it early. We have no interest in sticking around for that mess. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot of detail on how that's going to go, but I'm okay with that.
You do plan on taking the Hogwarts Express though to Islands of Adventure?
Yes. So we're going to start at Universal Studios that day, and then potentially go over to the other one, at least to ride the train. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other plans on that day before you move on to Tuesday?
We have a 7:45 reservation at the Toothsome Chocolate Emporium. So we've got big chocolate fans in this house. So we're going to go. That was the one restaurant that everybody was really excited about. So that's what we're going to go check out for dinner.
Okay. And dessert, hopefully.
Yeah.
Tuesday, October 7th.
So that day we're going to start at Islands of Adventure. I'm going to go the opposite way so we can kind of check out all the other things that we missed the day before or want to do again. And then we'll train back on the Hogwarts Express back to Universal Studios at some point to go back and do other things that we missed or want to do again. And then it closes, I think Universal Studios closes at 7 that day. So, which is fine. That will give us time to go back and go to the pool, get dinner, adults have a beverage, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think the park hours are funny. It's just a different vibe. Like, what do you mean you open at 10 and not 7 or 8?
I know. No. And the things that are happening after hours, I want no part of. So, it's fine. It forces us to go back because we are like full throttle travelers. And so it forces us to like stop and relax a little bit, which is good because Disney is going to be like pedal to the floor. So
yeah, it's such a different vibe.
it is.
Okay, so Wednesday, October 8th.
So Wednesday is our Epcot day. So we have all of our lightning lanes booked. And I have to tell you this because if there are other military people listening, this is a word of caution. I went to book our lightning lanes because our reservation at Shades of Green, because it counts as an on-property for booking lightning lanes to do 7 days in advance. We were eligible to start booking them on Saturday, the 27th that morning. So Friday night of preparing everything, making sure I got all of my ducks in a row. And I get online and realize that my husband is the only one listed as being eligible starting the next morning. And so I immediately panic and call Shades of Green. And I'm like, hey, you have a reservation for 4 people. Why is he the only one there? And they were very, just kind of nonchalant about it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, we can go ahead and add you, but it's going to take about 72 hours for it to transfer to Disney in the system. But you can call them tomorrow and just kind of see if there's anything they can do on their end. I was like, okay, I made this reservation in February, but okay. So I called Disney that evening. They were very lovely, but said there was nothing that they could do. And then I called the next day and got a cast member named Wes, who oddly enough was a military brat. So he kind of, understood our annoyance with a government entity and went above and beyond and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I want you to go ahead and book your husband's lightning lanes. And then when you all get moved over in the system, you call us back. I want you to ask for the Avengers, because apparently that's like the escalation team and what they call them, which I found quite apropos.
Good to know.
Yeah. And he said, call them. I've written everything up in the system. and we will like do your best to align your lightning lanes with his. But what if you can't? We will go back on the back end and fix all of that for you to make sure you all are on the same times. So I thought that was delightful. Hat tip, Wes. And so then I think it got to be Monday, and we still weren't in the system. And so I called back to Shades of Green and said the same thing again of like, hey, this is, what is supposed to be happening. Do you all have any updates? And they said, oh, and they asked me all the same questions again, like I'd never called before, which felt super on brand. And so I did that. And then I called back to Disney on Tuesday. They got everything all aligned and fixed and whatever. So we were good to go. All of our lightning lanes are together for all the same rides. Happy, happy day.
Did you have issues with dining reservations?
Nope. Not one bit.
Okay.
Now, I will say when I made the dining reservations, I made them for 4 people when I made them. But when I went into our touring plan or my Disney experience yesterday, I noticed that it was my husband's name or my name. And then it just said 3 guests. So I had to go back in and assign them. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but
yeah, but it still recognized you. And the reason I wondered is because you're the lead guest. So it recognized that you were eligible to book dining reservations 60 days out. Did you book them 60 days out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so that seems like it seems like a mismatch. It's like, okay, the lighting lanes didn't recognize you, but the dining did.
Right. And I think it's because I had my confirmation number from Shades of Green in my Disney experience. So the reservation was linked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, all it needed for dining. But to book lightning lanes, it needed all 4 individual people.
Yeah, it still knew you were there, though, because your dining reservations.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's
but
strange.
yes, but the lightning lanes didn't. Listen, Jupiter's 6th moon is in the 7th house. I don't know.
Yeah, Mercury's in retrograde.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just strange. And if I had been able to book dining reservations successfully, I would have thought lightning lanes would be the same thing. So that's very confusing, but I'm glad they got it fixed.
They did. So, and Roland was the cast member who helped on the back end. So thank you to Wes and Roland for being
Roland. All right.
Yes.
Shout out to Wes and Roland.
Shout out to Russ and Roland. I gave them 5-star reviews.
Great. So on this Epcot day, you do have lighting lanes, but are you planning to rope drop?
If I can, I think it depends on what time we get back to the hotel the night before. I am the early bird in my family. I will be up like ears on, ready to roll. Mm-hmm. It's getting the rest of my people. So, yes. But our first lightning lane is at 9:30, so they have to be up. They need to be up.
Don't tell them that you can check in for 3 hours on those.
Yeah, I won't.
It's 1 hour. We got to get there.
Mm-hmm. I lie to my people all the time about when we have to be somewhere, so we get there on time. Okay, so our lightning lanes for Epcot that day, we have a 9:30 Mission Space, which I likely will not be riding, but that's neither here nor there. We have a 10:30 Guardians, which I will suck it up and ride because I desperately want to know what song we get. And that ride did not exist the last time we were there, so I'm really excited to ride it. And the Guardians ride at Disneyland is the tower, which is just not the same thing. It's fine. That's the same thing. And then we have an 11:30 Soarin', and then a 12:30 Remy's.
Mm-hmm. You stacked them.
I did.
Yeah. Okay. So is the Mission Space one just a kind of a burner?
No, my people like Mission Space.
Mm-hmm.
I just know it doesn't like me.
Mm-hmm.
So
that would be rough.
Yeah. So I will just hold everyone's things. Because if I have to choose like a road that's going to potentially make me sick, I'm choosing Guardians. I'm not choosing Mission Space.
Yeah, that would be a tough back-to-back.
Yeah. So then after Remy's, we're already over there in the World Showcase. So we're going to just wander at Food and Wine for lunch is the plan. And then if there are other things, like obviously because we have lightning lanes, we will start to, I'm doing Standby Skipper. It'll be the best $45 I've ever spent. And so we're going to do that and potentially ride other things there. We may hop over to Hollywood Studios because according to your crowd calendar, that might be a good day to do that.
Wednesdays.
Okay.
Wednesdays are good days for Hollywood Studios.
Good to know. So we may do that. We may go back and hang out at the pool for a little bit and then go back to the parks for a little while. I'm trying to be when we booked this trip initially, my husband said, can we please have a full day break between so we have a day to rest? And I said, sure. And then I lined it all out and I was like, that's not going to happen. So I'm trying to be accommodating to the chill time as much as I can. So it's really just going to depend on how we're feeling. But as far as Epcot goes, like those are the rides that we really want to do. I think my kids are too old to care about Frozen anymore. So, which is sad. I know. My daughter might. Like when she gets in there, she might say she wants to go ride it because she had that whole movie memorized for quite some time. But I think we just kind of want to wander around the World Showcase and hang out a little bit. So we'll see.
Okay. Anything else on that day before we go to Thursday? So Thursday is when you move to the Polynesian.
Yes. So we're going to have to get up and do that bright and bushy-tailed because we have an 8:40 reservation at Kona. I offered up to my daughter, I said, do you want the menu at Kona or do you want to hang out with Stitch for breakfast? Because she is a big Stitch fan. And she said, I think I'd rather do the menu at Kona. And I said, okay, that's totally fine.
It's probably cheaper too, right?
And probably so. Because when they were little on our trip, we did all the character things. We did so many sit-down meals. We did all of that stuff. And so, she's had some that kind of thing. So anyway, we have a reservation over there at 8:40. And then we'll just have them hold our luggage or leave it in the car. And then we will head over to Magic Kingdom.
Okay. And that's obviously not a rope drop. So what time do you think you'll be there? Just right after breakfast?
Yeah, so our first lightning lane is at 11:05 for Tron.
And which you haven't been on, right?
Which I have not been on. And then we have, I stacked these a little loony, but knowing that I didn't want to hour block them because I was trying to smush them together for a reason that I'll get to. And then we have an 11:20 at Haunted Mansion. We have an 11:55 on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And then we have a noonish on Pirates and a 1 o'clock on Peter Pan. And I did that because we have tickets to the Halloween party that evening. And I was trying to squish in some rides. And then we can walk back to the Polynesian and have some lunch and hang out and rest a little bit. And then we can go back to the party.
Okay. Busy day.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So you're going to do a lot of rides, 5 lightning lanes. That's a good stack for when you get there.
Yes. And then my son's priority is meeting Jack and Sally. Nightmare Before Christmas is his very favorite movie of his entire almost 11 years of life. And so we will pop back over. I know we probably need to be in line 3-ish. I am okay if I have to leave and come back and start standing in line and let them mosey on over a little bit later. Because again, we're at the Polynesian, that's an easy thing to do. So we'll do that and get our wristbands and all that good stuff.
Okay. So I'm glad you have a plan for Jack and Sally. What else do you hope to do during the Halloween party?
So our priorities are Jack and Sally, Elvis Stitch for my daughter, and Alice and the Mad Hatter are kind of our top 3. If we happen to wander by any others, great. But because my people are such ride people and Magic Kingdom is a lot more accommodating to my son for not being super intense rides, that's kind of we want to do, we want to prioritize the parade and the fireworks. I'd love to wander by some of the shows. They might want to do some trick-or-treating, but for the most part, we want to do Tron with red lights and we want to do the Haunted Mansion again. And we want to, let them do Space Mountain and whatever is happening in there that I'm not going to go do, but I wish them well. We want to do Tiana's because that was a really hard choice for our tier 1 because we've never done Tiana's, but we're going to do that and then fit in any other ride that we can in the midst of all that other stuff because my kids could hang till midnight. So I think that's going to be really fun to be there at night and it be a little less crowded and get to just do something unique never been able to do before.
Do you have costume?
We don't have costumes. We have, The kids have shirts. They chose like a character to do like a thing. My husband was being real grumpy Gus and was like, I don't really care. And then my shirt is somewhere stuck between here and Thailand, apparently, that I ordered a month ago,
Not good.
which is not great. But I did order my daughter and I some glow-in-the-dark ears, which is fun. So I didn't want to do anything too crazy with costumes because the idea of being like in a ride in a costume just felt real not fun. Not that I want to, rain on anybody else's parade, but that just wasn't.
I can confirm it's difficult. I did the Oogie Boogie Bash at Disneyland as Bo Peep with the hoop skirt underneath, and I went on Guardians. So which is there. So I like squished the skirt down into the seat. It's very funny, but it was a little bit
difficult. But the pictures were fantastic.
Super silly.
Mm-hmm.
Totally doable.
Yes.
But uncomfortable. All right. Okay, so Friday, October 10th. What's your thoughts?
So Friday, I booked our lightning lanes to start around 10:15-ish, 10:30-ish.
Where at?
Oh, sorry, at Hollywood Studios.
Okay.
Because we're going to be up till midnight the night before, I was trying to be like a little careful. If we get up earlier and we want to head over there earlier, great, but I'm not going to force it. So our first lightning lane at Hollywood Studios is 10:25 on Tower of Terror. Whether we all ride or just some of us ride will yet to be determined. Mm-hmm. And then we have an 11:30 on Toy Story Mania and 12:30 on Slinky Dog Dash, which we haven't done before. I'm excited about that. And then, I think it was brand new when we went last time. And so you couldn't get a lightning lane or a Genie Plus, whatever it was called at that time. Mm-hmm. And then we have a 2:05 on Rise of the Resistance, which is such an awesome ride. I'm so excited to do it again.
So you have done Rise. Did you do it at Disneyland or Disney World?
Disneyland.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, because you've been there more recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was still it was 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yes, super cool. And I've got big Star Wars fans in my house. So we're really excited to get to do that again. And then there's plenty of other stuff at Hollywood Studios that we would love to go on or try to go on again and cycle lightning lanes. And then we'll just kind of see how we feel. If we feel like we've done everything we want to do there, we may try to hop back over to Magic Kingdom for a little bit or, go eat. I don't know. We'll see. See how the wind takes us. But that is, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's day 6 straight.
Yes, that's what I was just counting too, is how many days in a row.
So I'm going to, like when we travel overseas and we would, book trips and stuff, like I was always like, I don't know if we'll ever be back here again. Like we have to go do all the things and we have to get up early. We have to stay up late and we're just going to power through. We'll sleep when we're dead. And I'm trying to not have that mentality about this trip because I want everybody to have a good time.
Yes. And frankly, traveling with teenagers is different. And you just reminded me that I want to do content that's geared towards traveling with teens because it is a different thing. So things to consider. And one of the things to consider is that some teens don't like to wake up in the morning.
That's right.
And it's not their fault. Biology is
circadian rhythms. It's the whole thing.
The melatonin's still in their system and it's hard to wake up.
Yes.
Okay. Saturday, October 11th.
So Saturday we check out of the Polynesian, which will be a very sad day for me. And we'll just check out and again, either have to hold our stuff or put it in the car. And then we will head over to Animal Kingdom because we have 4-day park hopper tickets. So we got to fit in that 4th day. And so we have, much to my family's chagrin, we have an 8:15 on Kilimanjaro Safaris. We have a 10 o'clock on Navi River Journey, which we haven't done because again, like that whole universe was brand new the last time we were there, and my kids were little; they didn't care. So that'll be fun. And then we have an 11:10 on Expedition Everest. So, and I would assume that my husband and my daughter will go through the single rider line after that 14 times because it is their very favorite ride. And then, but we have to leave at some point because we have a 2:45 lunch reservation at Homecoming.
Okay. So morning and early afternoon, Animal Kingdom, and then you are in your own car, right?
Yes,
And you'll drive to Disney Springs. Have you eaten at Homecoming before?
we have. We ate there the first time we went to Disney and loved it. And so that was one of my husband's few requests was I want to ride Expedition Everest as many times as I want, and I want to come back to that restaurant.
And you said we will do that on our departure day.
I know.
It's like a
And then they
carrot,
get you in the car and drive us home.
right? Dangling the carrot.
Exactly.
Anything else that you want to do when you're in Disney Springs?
I think we're gonna, if depending on when we get out of. Now, let me ask you this: for a lightning lane, is the buffer on the front end and the back end, or just the back end?
No, you can only check in 5 minutes early.
Okay, that's what I thought. So we will, depending on what time we get out of Epcot. I mean, not Epcot, Animal Kingdom. We will do some kind of shopping around Disney Springs. If we haven't fit that in at some point earlier in the week when we had some downtime, and then we'll do the same thing where we drive about halfway and then we'll drive the rest of the way home on Sunday.
Okay. It's going to be a nice long trip.
It is.
Okay. Anything else that we haven't talked about yet?
I mean, as far as plans go, no. I didn't know if you had I know I think it was Jenny that messaged me, had said something about like pricing and stuff for information. So I didn't know if you wanted any of that, if you care about any of that, if you want it on the back end, but I had it ready.
Yeah, you can tell us what you've paid for so far. And also there will be some expenses during the trip that you accumulate. But do you have numbers to share now for what you've purchased so far?
So I have for the hotel and the tickets. I did not gather the pricing for the lightning lanes because those are kind of public, whatever. I honestly didn't want to think about it when I totaled it all up, Shannon. I just wanted to hit purchase and walk off.
I do think that's so painful because I mean, with Genie Plus, you bought it per day, and which, downsides and upsides to that. And now it's like this big lump sum.
Yes. And when we were at Disneyland in both California and in California, we had only ever experienced Florida. So we were panicked about buying lightning lanes there and then got there and went, oh, wait a minute. It's not really all that necessary. And it wasn't necessarily at all in Paris.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point because with Disney World, you have to decide before you see the crowds.
Yes, exactly. So I will say the great thing about Shades of Green is that the pricing is based on your it's broken out by rank band. And so people who are lower in rank and therefore are paid less pay a lower nightly rate. And then it kind of gradually goes up from there. So we are paying $257 a night for a hotel that's right there, which is so great. Now, does it have all the theming and all the, like you said, there's some downsides with the transportation and stuff like that, but it frees up money for us to do other things.
And you're considered on site. So there's some perks to that as well.
Right. And then the Polynesian with our renting of DVC points for 2 nights was a total of $11.75. So for 5 nights at Shades, I'm paying just over what I'm paying for 2 nights at the Polynesian.
Yes. And is that a studio at the Poly?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Probably that's like the standard kind of.
It's standard, yeah, it's the
size.
DVC thing.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to be ruined with staying at the Polynesian, and I'm just going to have to accept that.
Well, I mean, this is one way to do it. You're like, let me just get a couple nights in.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's clever. That's one of the perks to the sharing budget prices. It's like, well, if you've always dreamed of staying at a certain hotel, make it part of your trip. Because if you start doing it every day, it obviously adds up really quickly. And then do you have pricing on what the 4-day tickets are for their military tickets, right?
Yes. So the 4-day hopper tickets, because you can't buy just standard ones, you have to buy park hopper ones is kind of what they do. And obviously because of my kids' ages, or 3 and up kind of a situation, they were $3.95 each. Which I don't know. I didn't compare. I just know that's less.
Yeah, no, that's really good, especially with the hopper included, because that always adds. That's an extra fee on top of the base tickets. Okay,
right.
All right. So you have the Shades of Green and Poly. You have your tickets. We know the Universal part of it's going to be not cheap. And then during your trip, you also have lighting lanes that you purchase.
And the party tickets.
And the party tickets and standby skipper. So during the trip, It'll just be about like shopping and food that you have to pay for. So,
Right.
all right.
Right.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I made a note to ask you for costs on the post trip as well. So
Okay.
if you keep track of that, then we can include that.
No promises, but I'll do my best.
Okay. If you don't,
Yes.
I just want to include it.
No. And we did the dining plan the first time we went, because we were doing so many character meals and sit down things and all of that. It made it worthwhile, but that was not the goal of this trip, and so it did not make any sense at all. But I do love that like all inclusive feeling. We're like, sure, get a snack, do whatever, it's totally fine. So the opening up of the statement, see what all we want, it's going to hurt, but that's okay.
Yes.
We planned for it. We planned for it.
Yeah, I can see the dining plan credits being super helpful with kids, your kids' ages as well, just for that freedom to be like, go get what you want.
Right.
But
Right.
the
And
downside is they count as Disney adults.
yes. Yes.
And that
They
is
do.
weird. How many 11-year-olds are eating the same as a grown adult? Not that many.
I don't know. As much soccer as my kid plays, he puts away some food. So
Yeah. Yes. All right. All right. Well, thanks for sharing. And
course.
I'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, a reminder that your digital life is always at risk. Every day, hackers steal identities, drain bank accounts, and open fraudulent accounts. LifeLock is here with tips to help prevent you from becoming a victim. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report scams, and update the software on your devices. And for peace of mind, get LifeLock. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Plus, LifeLock plans include the $1 Million Protection Package, meaning LifeLock will reimburse you to your plan's limits if you lose money due to identity theft. Stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected. Get comprehensive identity protection with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. That's LifeLock.com, promo code NEWS for 30 days free. Terms apply.
Welcome back from your trip, Jessie.
Thank you.
This is Tuesday, October 14th. You've been back for 2 days.
Yes.
How are you?
Yes. Mostly okay. Grateful that I do not have to go back to work till Thursday. So I've had a little bit of time to recover. My poor children had to go back to school yesterday. So they were not so happy to get up in the morning and said the day was very long.
They didn't have yesterday off school?
No, I think because it was fall break, they to give them fall break, they had to take away some other days off. So they didn't. But my husband and I both had the day off of work. So that was nice that we got to just have some silence.
Overall, how was your trip?
It was really fun. It was
Mhm.
really fun. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I should have probably listened to my husband's request of building in a day of rest in the middle. But I did build in pocket, and we were able to kind of finagle those to work. So it wasn't fully go, but by the end we were done like cake.
Yeah, I think a couple of themes emerge in these trip reports. And two that you just mentioned is a lot of people do need a little extra time after the trip to recover, before going back to work or school. And then the other is the breaks in the middle of the trip. My personal rule is for every 2 days in the park, there's a day not in the park. But I know a lot of people like to go harder than that. So let's start walking through it. So on Friday, October 3rd, you were driving and staying overnight before you arrived on Saturday.
Correct. So we ended up not getting to leave town until about 7:00 at night because I don't know if you're aware, there's a government shutdown. And so, but my husband being in the military still has to go to work. And so you had a lot of people not at work. So there was a lot to do. So he was just trying to get as much done as he could. So we ended up only going about 3 hours on the road on Friday and stopped in Auburn, Alabama, and stayed at the Graduate Hotel, which is delightful if anybody is ever going to Auburn. Seeming on par probably with Disney. It was
Nice.
really, really cute. So we stayed overnight there and got up and left the next morning and made it all the way to Orlando. And I think we checked into Shades of Green at about 5:00, between 5 and 6.
Mhm.
And, well, I should say, before we got to the hotel, we went directly to City Walk because Universal was our first park and we needed to validate our tickets. And so the poor choice we made was that was a Halloween Horror Nights evening. And we pulled in right about the time everyone was getting to Halloween Horror Nights. So getting into the parking garage at City Walk was a bit of a disaster and was making us question a lot of our choices. But we got parked, we got inside, we got directly to guest services, got everything all figured out with our passes, and then went ahead and left because there were so many people. They were like, I was not even going to entertain the idea of eating down there. But we got all of that done. We got back to the hotel, got checked in, and then there are 2, 3-ish restaurants in Shades of Green. There's a breakfast buffet kind of a situation. There's an Italian restaurant, and then there's a sports bar that's kind of up next to the pool. And so we ended up going to the sports bar in an attempt to watch college football because it was Saturday and get something to eat. And so we were able to do that and then get back to the room and kind of get everything situated for the day. And I will say, like, while the room price at Shades of Green is great, there were some like things to it that kind of, I don't know. There was a lot of kind of comparing and contrasting we did between it and Polynesian in terms of, like, for instance, Shades of Green parking you have to pay for. I went to Polynesian, you don't. But obviously it was a lot less expensive. So, that was a thing.
What about the room itself?
So the room itself, so for context, we were in a DVC room at the Polynesian, and our room at Shades of Green was significantly larger. Obviously, there's no theming. It's a little bit, feels a little bit older. Still clean and everything, but we definitely had more room to spread out in the Shades of Green room. And the bathroom situation was like there was the area with 2 sinks and a big counter and a mirror, and then a separate room with toilet and shower. And at the Polynesian, we had 2 separate bathrooms, but only one of them had a toilet. So that was an interesting, fun thing to configure. But we definitely had more room to, the theming, obviously, at the Polynesian was darling, but we definitely had more space to put all of our stuff at Shades of Green.
Yeah, I have heard that about the rooms there.
Yes.
Okay.
And I even got a peek into one of the suites as we walked down the hall, and it looked like a banquet room. It was huge. So I think if you've got a lot of people or multiple, more than a couple of kids, they definitely have space to spread out and roll your stroller, your double stroller in and all that good stuff. So
was that kind of the end of your Saturday? Like you got some dinner at the hotel and then got ready for the next day?
And then we just prepped everything for the next day and got to bed because I knew we were like trying to do the full 10 to 10 of Epic Universe the next day. And so we needed our beauty sleep.
You had a marathon about to start.
We did.
That was Sunday, October 5th, and you were going to drive to Universal to do Epic Universe.
Yes. So we were a little leery about the parking after experiencing the night before, but it was a much different scenario the next morning, thankfully. So parking was $32 a day. And so we went ahead and did that and parked, and we got up to Epic Universe probably 9:30, and the park opened at 10. But I think by the time we parked and kind of walked to the gates and got checked in, we kind of just got to go ahead and go in. Nobody was really like stopping us and giving us any sort of barrier. And so we walked straight to Harry Potter because I knew that ride was going to probably have the longest queue as the day went on, and we wanted to make sure to get that knocked out. And the other thing is we ended up having some friends join us who just happened to be going to Universal the same days we were, as one of my daughter's friends that she's going to homecoming with at her school in a couple of weeks, and his parents, because they were doing some other kind of Florida trip, but they had happened to sandwich that in there. So they tagged along with us, which was fun. And so we were in line for Harry Potter for about 90 minutes, which was pretty much what was posted for the queue. But it was so magical to look at that I didn't care. Like it felt like as you moved through the sections, like you got tired of where you were and then you moved into the next thing and there was new stuff to look at. So it really didn't bother us too much that we had to wait that long. And so the ride was great. There were a couple of places where I had to shut my eyes for motion sickness purposes. But for the most part, it was okay.
And that was a park opening, so some
Yeah.
long waits, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was probably a lot of people knew that like they needed to head there first. And I think too, because it's Epic Universe and it's new and it was I think that was, it was a Sunday. So I think that was part of the problem. So when we left the ride, it started to rain. And so we saw that the circus show that's underneath the little tent thing inside Harry Potter, it's supposed to be like an animal, like Fantastic Beasts animal kind of show was happening in like 10 minutes. And so we're like, oh, well, it's raining. Let's pop in here. We didn't really know much about it because my people are not necessarily ones for shows at parks, but, avoiding the rain. And so we went in and it was a 12:25 showing. And it was such a lovely show. The beginning of it was a little cheesy. But once we got into the main part of it and sat down, it was really, really cool. So I'm glad that we did that. And then we just kind of came out and the rain had stopped. We went through the candy shop that's in that part, but the line was too long for me to stop and actually buy anything. But it was fun to walk around and look. And then we went ahead and placed a mobile order for food inside Dark Universe because that was the next park that we were going to. And that was the menu that appealed to everybody in our group. And so we headed over to Dark Universe and ate. And overall of the Universal, all of the food that we ate was fabulous. I was really, really impressed, especially when the one meal we ate at City Walk, I was not impressed at all. So I was really, really grateful that the food inside the park was so good. And then after we ate, 5 of the 7 of us went on Frankenstein. And they went in at 1:55 and were out in maybe 25, 30 minutes. And they all loved it. A couple of them said that it wasn't necessarily the ride wasn't bad or like motion sickness giving, but there were a couple of scenes for the kids that were a little gory that they weren't necessarily super big fans of. But the ride itself was fun.
So you were 2 of the 7 that chose not to ride?
Yes, ma'am. I had seen the video of how that ride maneuvered. And as much as I wanted to see the inside of it, and I probably could have gone through the queue, but I didn't want to leave, the family we were with, like the one person who stayed, I didn't want to leave her by herself. So I was perfectly fine not going on that ride. And then at 2:30, they all hopped on Curse of the Werewolf, which is a like coaster kind of situation. And then we grabbed a Frankenstein-shaped pretzel, which was hilarious. And then
if they can do Mickey-shaped ones, I'm surprised there's not more of those.
Exactly. And I almost think they're better because they're doughier than like a regular. Anyway,
I agree.
So,
I think shaped food tastes better. It's like, when you're a kid, the mac and cheese shapes, they just taste better.
yes, which eating those now as a child, like or as an adult, like the noodles are so hard. Ugh. Anyway, and then we headed over to Nintendo, which my son was super excited for. And to be fair, my daughter's friend, he was really excited because he was grown up playing Mario. So we headed straight for the minecart ride, which is what my son was the most excited to ride because he likes to have information. He likes to be prepared. And so he'd done a lot of research and watching YouTube videos. And so we got in to line and we waited. We were in line for probably 50 minutes and the rain started. And so that was one of those coasters that goes under a delay. And
It's been a rough time of year for rain.
Yeah. And so we said, well, we'll wait it out. Like we'd looked at the radar. It was going to be a small cell. We'll just kind of see how this goes. We'll scoot up in the line because other people are going to exit. And so we waited a good bit longer, maybe another 30-ish minutes. And they just kept they would run a car to try to test it. And then the rain would start again. And so when we looked at the weather, we said, okay, well, let's go ride something else. And we'll try to come back once it's reopened. And so we went over to the Bowser's ride, which is like an indoor kind of shooting something. I don't recall.
You have to describe everything to me because I haven't been to Epic Universe.
Okay, so it's a lot like Toy Story Mania, where you're going through and shooting at various things.
Got it. So you were on that one.
We all rode that one. And we went to the single rider line because the regular one was so long, and we still waited close to an hour. It was crazy. I could not believe how slow that line moved. And so, but we ended up getting put mostly together, which was lots of fun. And it was a fun ride. I don't know that I liked it as much as Toy Story, but it was a fun ride. And then there's a third ride in Nintendo that's like Yoshi's Adventure, but it's definitely a ride geared at smaller kids. And I think the wait was maybe like 75 or 80 minutes. And we're like, we're not going to wait on that. And the other ride was still on a weather delay. So we left and went to the Isle of Berk, which is the How to Train Your Dragon section. And there were 2 rides in there. There was a coaster that had a 25-minute posted wait. And I would say probably half of us went on that one. And they really enjoyed it. And then we went to the gliders, where it's kind of like you're on this big stick with these like winged things that you sit in. And you're supposed to be able to maneuver yourself to kind of flip around or whatever. But they all seem to have a really hard time actually doing it. Like you could see other people doing it, but they seem to not be able to maneuver around. But that one was about, I think, a 35-minute posted wait, and they waited about half an hour. So they rode that. And
What are you doing while people are writing things? What are you doing?
People watching.
People watching.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were going on other rides that didn't have waits or shopping or.
No. Well, we had never seen How to Train Your Dragon, oddly enough. But we just wanted to see the world and like walk through all of the things and let them go on the rides. And I'm so used to not being able to ride so much stuff that I'm perfectly fine just sitting and kind of hanging out and people watching. So that did not bother me at all. And I had no need for Isle of Berk merch. So that was
you're
an
like,
easy decision.
You're like, what am I going to shop for?
Right. And because of the way Epic Universe is situated, I would have had to like completely leave that world and walk somewhere else to go into something else to get on another ride. And it wasn't a reasonable use of time. So we left Isle of Berk, and on our way back to Harry Potter to get dinner, we stopped by Stardust Racers, which is like the huge coaster in the middle of Epic Universe where 2 coasters race one another and they twist around each other. And it had gotten dark, so the coaster was all lit up. And it was super cool to watch. My husband and my son, maybe my daughter, all said it was their favorite ride that they went on the entire time we were gone. They thought that was just the coolest thing they'd ever been on. So we did that, or they did that, and we watched them. And then we went into Harry Potter for dinner. We had originally wanted to go, there were 2 restaurants in Harry Potter, and one of them was one we were trying to go to, but it had closed already, I think at maybe 7 or 8 o'clock, which felt strange to me that they listed that they had a dinner menu, and yet it was not open anymore. And so we went to the other one, something Serene, and it was a beautiful, beautiful restaurant. The theming was incredible. The food was amazing. I mean, we had like roast chicken and beef bourguignon and this crepe that was incredible. I think I had 14 butterbeers over the course of 3 days because I love them so much. But it was really, really great. And so the plan was we were going to eat and then try to go back over to the Mario ride. And it never opened back up. So my son was exceptionally sad that the one ride he really wanted to go on, he never got to go on. And of course, we couldn't go back to Epic because it's like a 1-day ticket.
That bumps me out. Every time we encounter big rides, especially being down, it annoys me for us, but in a little bit, but it annoys me for other people more. Because I'm like, most people get one shot. And it just feels like if you don't deliver on the rides,
I know.
Like,
and it's, I know it's the weather and they can't control the weather.
Yeah. But I think it makes me more upset when it's not the weather. When it's just like technical issues.
Right. He had some redemption later in the week. So worry not.
I'm excited to see how that worked out.
So, but it's also, a reason for us to go back, right? It's like he's still got to ride that ride. So we went back to the center of Epic Universe. So it's all these different portals that are scattered around. And in the center, they had probably the most epic carousel I have ever seen in my entire life. It is all, especially at night when because it was all lit up inside and like the lights move and change and there's music. But all of the things that you ride on, it's not connected in like a circle. They're all kind of scattered around this floor. And then they all kind of spin individually and they're all constellation animals. And there's stars on the floor and on the ceiling. And oh my gosh, it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. So we all got on that. And that was lovely. And then when we got off of it, it was park closing. And then there was this huge fountain show outside of Helios, which I had no idea that even happened. So that was a fun surprise to get to. And it was all to music of the different worlds and like various Universal, movie kind of music. So it felt like being at the Bellagio.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing when you're saying it.
Yeah.
And that carousel thing sounds like it's something that is better at night.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Really
And it's
beautiful.
under this big dome
Mhm.
rather than being like a traditional kind of carousel that's all one piece. It was just kind of this, I don't know. It was really, really cool. And I realize it's a carousel. And like when people are like, but it's a ride, like there are better rides. But for me, it was just the whole concept of it was just really unique.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. And then at the end of the fountain show, the sky opened up. And so we were then sprinting to the car, which was, always an enjoyable experience. And we got back to the hotel and showered, crashed, because we had gone 10 to 10 and we were real done.
That was a long day.
But I'm glad that we planned it. That was our first day rather than later in the week, because I don't know that we would have made it.
It get tired.
Yeah.
But
Especially not being anywhere near our hotel. Like there was nowhere to go back and like.
It's harder to take a break.
Yes.
Yes.
October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, a reminder that your digital life is always at risk. Every day, hackers steal identities, drain bank accounts, and open fraudulent accounts. LifeLock is here with tips to help prevent you from becoming a victim. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report scams, and update the software on your devices. And for peace of mind, get LifeLock. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Plus, LifeLock plans include the $1 Million Protection Package, meaning LifeLock will reimburse you to your plan's limits if you lose money due to identity theft. Stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected. Get comprehensive identity protection with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. That's LifeLock.com, promo code NEWS for 30 days free. Terms apply.
Okay, so you had another park day the next day, Monday, October 6th. You were going to Universal Studios at the beginning of the day.
So we grabbed breakfast. There's a to-go kind of breakfast area at Shades of Green. I will say that hours of the food facilities at Shades of Green are not super conducive to going to the parks. Like if you came back, when we came back at 10 o'clock, everything was closed. Like even just like the little shop that has, various things in it, the grab and go stand, like it was a vending machine or nothing at all. And so that is kind of frustrating because if I had come back with like a super hungry, I didn't want to wait in line as like at like a park closing restaurant or they weren't selling food anymore. And I just needed to get a snack for somebody. Like that would have been not at all.
Yeah.
So anyway, we grabbed breakfast to go. We left the hotel at 8:30. We entered the park at 9:05 and we walked straight to the back because the front of that park is where the Minions things are. And that already had like a posted 50-minute wait. And so we said, well, let's go to the back where people haven't gotten to yet, and then we'll work our way forward. So we walked straight on to Fast and Furious, which was like a 10-minute waltz through the thing. And that ride turned my husband into like a 15-year-old. He was so excited about the cars and the whole thing because he's watched all the movies. He loves all of them. I could not care less. But anyway, made him happy, which is always a joy. And so we rode that, and then we went to Men in Black at 9:45. There was no wait for that. the similar, like, ride around in a car and shoot at aliens kind of situation. And then the kids rode this alien something ride in the Simpsons area because that was a walk-on. And then we walked kind of back around the little loop and went to Diagon Alley. We got in there about 10:45, and then we stood there about 20 minutes waiting for the dragon to blow fire, and it never did. And so we said, well, it'll come on later. Who knows? Maybe turned off, like whatever. And so we went to the lockers to put all of our things away and then got in line for Gringotts at 11:15. And it had a 45-minute wait posted, and we exited at 12:20. So it was a little bit faster, but.
And did you went on that one?
I went on that one. There were a couple of places where I was like, ooh, but for the most part, it was really fun. And the theming inside the queue was awesome. I was trying to, I took my motion sickness medicine every morning, and it was my goal to ride almost all of the Harry Potter things. Like, there were certain rides that I was like really, really set on pushing through, and I made it on most of those. So that one was fun. And then we got out and grabbed butterbeer and ice cream at Florian's, and then somebody needed a pretzel, and so we stopped for that on our way for everybody but me to ride the Mummy back in the New York section. And they entered that one at 1:20. It was a 25-minute wait posted. They were out in 20 minutes. And then we walked over to Transformers at 1:45, 35-minute wait posted, and we were out in about maybe 40, 45 minutes. It was a little bit longer.
And do you do okay on rides like that?
Where we're sitting and spinning, and as long as there's not too much spinning or the spinning isn't too fast, then I'm typically okay. But teacups, absolutely not. But if it's just a one kind of a situation, I can usually close my eyes and just kind of maneuver through it.
That one's got screens right throughout,
Yes.
so sometimes that's a problem.
Yeah, I did have to close my eyes a good bit on that, but especially when we were speed forward and stuff, and that was not okay. But otherwise, I was all right. And then at 2:20 we left there. We walked to Minions, but it was still a super long wait, and the kids decided it was not important enough. And so we walked over to ride E.T., which was just the sweetest. It was such a, my 80s baby heart was just, oh my gosh, it was darling.
It is cute. I'm afraid it's going to go away because it's an old ride.
It is an old ride. But it was, and you could tell, but the queue was so sweet, and I almost fell asleep because it's dark and there's forest sounds, a sound machine, and it was really relaxing in there. And so we did that, and then so we were out of there at 3:15, and everyone was hungry. And since we were close to the exit, we said, well, let's just walk into City Walk. We'll get something to eat, and then go back across over to Islands of Adventure. And so we went to the NBC Sports Cafe, something or other. It was fine. It was fine. I was not, it was edible, but I would not tell anybody, you should go there.
But if I recall, that one was more convenient than a lot of the other ones to get to.
Yeah, it's closer to the park ends than a lot of them are. And because of the weird time of day we were eating, it would fit all 7 of us pretty quickly. And so it was, and the table that we were sitting at had a foosball table built into it. So that was, entertaining for the kids. But yeah, the food was fine. It was fine. It kept people from getting hangry, which is always a goal. So we left there at about 5:15 and walked over to Islands of Adventure and went straight.
You walked over there instead of taking the train?
We did, because when we left Universal Studios, the wait for the train was 75 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And so, because I think a lot of people had the same idea that time of day. And so we were like, you know what? We're coming back tomorrow. We'll ride the train. We'll keep an eye on the times. We'll pick a better time tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. I understand.
So we went ahead and walked over there, went into Hogsmeade, and I can't decide if I like Diagon Alley or Hogsmeade better. Like
Mhm.
the theming is just really, really cool in both of them. And because it was an overcast day, it gave a lot more believable truth to the snow-covered buildings. And so we were walking through trying to figure out what we wanted to do. And we said, oh, and my daughter's friend's mom said, oh, the wand show is really cool. Like, we need to go in and watch one. And the line had maybe 3 people in it. So we're like, sure, let's go do that. So we got in line for that at 6. And I think we were in within maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 at the most. And so we filter in, and who gets chosen for a wand but my son? Which I had no hopes of any of that kind of thing happening, because I didn't know like what age of kid they would choose or how any of that worked.
And he's 11. So.
He'll be 11 in December.
Okay.
And so my internal like Harry Potter dork, I almost like spontaneously combust. I was like, be cool. Just be cool. This is fine.
And was he being cool?
So it was really funny. The woman, the shopkeeper, walked up to him and said, what is your name? And he honestly thought that she was speaking to Gabriel, our friend, my daughter's friend that was with us. And so he turns around and looks at him like, this guy? And so she said, no, you. And so he told her his name, and he said, Barrett. And she said, well, Barrett, and to come over here. And so she walks kind of behind, it's like a peninsula desk, like counter in the shop. And she walks on her side of it. And he just walks up and stands next to her. And she's doing something over here, and she turns, and he's not directly in front of her. And she looks around like, wait a minute, and then realizes that she's like, no, come over. So there was a lot of like giggles out of the audience, which was real funny. And so he walked over, and she, goes through the thing and gives him a wand for him to try and tells him what to do. And he completely gets stage fright. And he's like, no, I think you can let somebody else do this. I don't want to. So then I immediately am like, no. This is not how this is going. So I scooch up to him and I whisper in his ear, and I was like, hey, buddy, this is a really cool thing that you've been chosen to do. I need you to be brave, and you can do this. And he was like, no, Mama, I can't. I said, okay, well, I'll help you. So he turned around and we cast and said the spell together, and the shelves went crazy. And so I kind of like, it's like, okay, you're good now. And he's like, I think so. And so I kind of like backed myself back into my spot. And then she gave him another one, and he did that one all on his own. He kind of looked at me like, is this okay? And he did that one. And then when she handed him the third one, and like the light goes and the fans go and all of that, he genuinely like jumped back because he had no idea what to expect. So it was the sweetest, most genuine reaction he had to the whole thing. And thankfully my husband got it all on video. And so we went through all of that. And then of course you go through, they shuttle you out through this door, and they're like, if you want to buy it, you can, you don't have to. And I'm like, what parent is walking out of here not buying the dang wand? Like,
which is exactly what they're trying to. They want you to buy it.
That's exactly right.
It works, doesn't it?
It does indeed. But I mean, my kids are obviously not as big of Harry Potter fans as I am, because they haven't gone through reading all of the books and seeing all of the movies yet. It's in some of it. They have a general concept. But for me, it was freaking cool, because I knew nobody was going to pick me for a wand, nor should they. So we got his wand, and then, that was fun because it was one of the ones where you can cast at the various spells at the windows and stuff. So that was
Which
really,
is going to
really
come
cool.
in handy when you go back to Universal Studios too.
That's exactly right. Though the box was in a bag with his chocolate frog, and the dog got into it yesterday and kind of chewed up part of the box. And I was like, no, the wand. But the wand is fine. The chocolate frog is gone, but the wand is fine.
I'm worried about the dog and the chocolate frog though.
Yeah, listen. Thankfully, I've had 2 chocolate labs who have stomachs of steel, so he's fine. He's fine. Lord of mercy. I was mad, but he's fine. So right after the show, they went over to the Forbidden Journey ride that's in the castle. I knew I couldn't ride that ride. We had that conversation previously, but I desperately wanted to see the queue because I wanted to go inside the castle. So I walked through it with them, which on one hand was so cool, and I wanted to have the time to walk through. There was like a 15-minute wait posted or something. And so they were just like through the thing. I'm like, but guys, I'm looking at all.
It's so interesting because the wait times the day before had been so long.
Yes. And I don't know if it was because I don't know if it was because it was a weekday and so that pulled it back, or if because it was, overcast most of the day. So maybe people thought it was going to rain. So they just said not to. I'm not sure what the deal was, but I was super grateful for it. So they were in and out of that in less than 15 minutes. And then my husband really wanted to ride the Incredible Hulk coaster, but nobody else wanted to ride it with him. So we split up and he went to go do that. And I took the kids to go ride the Revenge of Kong or something with Kong. And it was a 20-minute posted wait. So I thought, sure, let's go do that. It ended up being more like 35 or 40 minutes.
Longer than Forbidden Journey.
Yeah.
Weird.
I don't really know why that was. And they all kind of felt meh about that whole ride. And then we left and we went into the like DC comic area and the three kids rode Spider-Man. They walked in the last 5 minutes, like 6:55, and then and we're in and out real quick. And then we walked out of the park because it closed at 7. We were planning to stop and get Voodoo Donuts, but the line was so long. So we pieced out and we left and went to, sorry, I didn't realize my sounds were on my phone. We left and went to, you'll appreciate this, we drove to Chewy's. Because we have a Chewy's here in Huntsville, but it is the most disappointing Chewy's I've ever eaten at in my whole life. And so the one in Orlando was so great. It tasted like it should. And so we were grateful to have good rellenos. So we ate dinner and then went back because it was on the way back. We went back to the hotel and crashed.
Yeah. 2 long days.
2 very long days. I mean, thankfully the park day ended at 7 rather than having 3 more hours of rides. So like, sitting at a table and like dousing chips and creamy jalapeno is a different, level of intensity.
You got to sit down.
Yes.
Did you cancel your Toothsome reservation?
We did.
Okay.
We did. That morning or maybe the night before, we looked at the menu again and we were concerned that the kids were that it was maybe a little too adventurous for the kids. And so we made a promise that we would take them by for a milkshake at some point, but we were not going to stop and eat there. And especially after the lunch or dinner situation that we'd had that we were feeling kind of mad about, I wasn't feeling real positive about restaurants and city walks. So I wasn't real sad about it.
Okay. Good to know. I just wanted to follow up since it was part of your pre-trip.
I'm sorry. I'd forgotten all about it.
That's okay. That's why I have notes.
That's right.
That way we can refer to them and compare. Sometimes you have to cancel.
That's right.
The next day was Tuesday, October 7th, and you had plans to go back to Universal, but this time starting at Islands of Adventure.
Yes. So we left Shades of Green a little bit earlier. We left at 8:20, but we did not arrive at the Islands of Adventure gate until 9:30 because there was so much traffic on the highway. I don't know if it was commuter traffic or a wreck. Not really sure what the problem was, but it was absolutely ridiculous. So that kind of threw off our plan of getting there right when it opened to get in line for Hagrid's because that had been like the longest queue over in that park. And so that was really frustrating. Thankfully, our friends had stopped at Voodoo Donuts on the way in because they stayed at a closer hotel and they picked up breakfast. So we were redeemed by donuts. And so we immediately went to Velociraptor because that had a 15-minute hosted wait. And I know my husband and my daughter rode that ride. I don't know that anybody else did, but they loved it. They thought that was one of their favorite coasters. They really, really enjoyed it. So they were out of there by like 10:05 and we headed to Hogsmeade and we saw a stage show that had the Beaubatons and Dharma String students. They were doing some kind of performance thing, which again, we wouldn't necessarily choose to like go to a show, but if it happens upon us, and it was cute. And then we went ahead and entered Hagrid's because the wait posted was 105 minutes. And we did not think that that would get any better as the day went on. And so we just said, first thing in the morning, we're going to suck it up.
And does this include you?
Yes. That was one of the rides that I was like, I'm getting on it. And we're just going to hope that it all turns out okay. And it was great.
Do you ride Expedition Everest at Animal Kingdom?
I had never before, but I did this trip.
Okay. Because to me, there's some comparisons there.
Yeah. And the only thing that bothers me on both of them is the going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Once the going backwards is done, I'm totally fine. But yes, the going backwards bothered me on both of them. But the Hagrid's ride was really fun. And it was cute that it was like, I don't know if they keep you on the bike, but no matter. It was a sweet ride. And then we left there after the 105 minutes, and they wanted to ride Forbidden Journey again. So while they were riding that, I got to see the Toad Choir, which was really cute. And the humans who were singing were super talented.
Mm-hmm.
I was really impressed.
Was it another short wait for them at Forbidden Journey?
So that one was like 45 minutes, and it ended up being right about that.
It sounds more typical there than 15.
Yeah, and it was the sun was out more that day, so I don't know if that brought out more people. I'm not exactly sure what the cogs of the universe did in that one. And then we grabbed another butterbeer because, of course. And we got in line for Flight of the Hippogriff, which is like a little kind of coaster thing. We got in line for 1:45. It was an hour posted wait, but my son had he was like, I think that'd be fun. Let's ride it. And about 15 minutes in, we got a rain delay. And so we stood around for a little bit, and we kind of looked at the radar, and we were like, I don't know that this is going to be like a great use of our time. This was also the point when our friends left because they had other plans for the rest of the week in Florida, and they needed to get on the road. And so
I'm not sure I understood that they were still with you. So that was like 3 days.
So it was all 3 days that they were with us. Yes.
Okay.
Which was great because they'd never been to Epic, but they had been to Universal a few times. So they had a better idea of like what rides were like and how to navigate around and kind of where things were, which saved us a lot of time of not knowing where stuff was or, so anyway, that was helpful. So they went ahead and left. So we were on our own at this point. And then we went ahead and left the line of Hippogriff and went and ordered lunch at Three Broomsticks. And we waited about maybe 20 minutes for a table and like another 15 for the food to arrive. So it wasn't terrible, but it was also really good.
Mm.
It was delicious. And the theming felt very much like an old, it felt like any old restaurant I had been in Germany. It was so cool. So we really, really liked that. And then we walked to Toontown because for some odd reason, my son really wanted to ride a water ride. And I was like, you're going to get all wet. He said, I don't really care.
This is the park for freaking wet. It's such a wet ride. I mean, it's a wet park.
I know. It was crazy. So he and my husband rode that because my daughter had no interest in getting wet and neither did I. Like, that is a miserable existence for me. And so it was like a 10-minute posted wait. Like they really just walked through the queue and got right on, and they walked off with their clothes significantly darker than when they walked in. And then at 3:45, we walked over to Jurassic Park because since they were already wet, why not ride that water ride? And so, so they went ahead and got on that one. And the parts that were not wet before then were wet after. But neither of them cared. And so that's okay. And then, it was like a 15-minute posted wait. So they, kind of got in and out pretty quickly. And so then at like 4:30, my husband and my daughter were hoping to ride Velocicoaster again. Velociraptor, whatever it's called.
The coaster?
Velocicoaster? Okay. But the ride was, the line was like an hour. Mm-hmm. And we were also trying to go ride the train back to the other park. And so they just kind of gave up and said, I don't know that I want to wait an hour to do that again. So we went to Hogwarts. It was a 45-minute posted wait for the Hogwarts train, I should say. We got in at 4:40 and we got to Diagon Alley at 5:30. So it was pretty accurate. The majority of the screen stuff did not bother me, but that was it was a really cute ride. And then we got back into Diagon Alley. We kind of wandered around the shops because we didn't really have time the day before to just kind of browse and really take it all in. And so the kids went around casting spells in windows. My husband had to go take a work call, so that all kind of worked out. And then they went ahead and rode Gringotts again. And I just winged it because I had already kind of tested myself earlier in the day, like with Hagrid's and things. And I thought, I don't want to push it. I don't want to push it. So they went in at 6:25. It was a 35-minute wait posted, and they were out right at 7:00. And so I grabbed a last butterbeer while they were riding. And then we went through Nocturne Alley because they had not seen that part. And so that was fun. And then they were casting spells back there. And then we left the park and we stopped in a couple of shops on our way out for some souvenir things on our way to the gate. And then we went by Toothsome and got them bonkers milkshakes.
They are bonkers, aren't they?
They are
About
bonkers.
a million things on them, but they're so fun.
They are really fun. They are really fun. And they were delicious. And based on the crowd and the craziness of people waiting for a table, I was glad to just get our milkshake and get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we went back to the hotel and we got back there about 9:00. We still had not had dinner. So I went and threw in laundry, which I will say Shades of Green has probably the nicest hotel laundry facilities I've ever experienced in my whole life. And we went into the Italian place and ordered food. And by the time we were done with the laundry and the folding and the putting away, it was like 11:05 before the adults got to bed.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot.
It was
A long day. But before we move on to your Disney park days, I'm curious because this was your first time going to Universal.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you feel about doing it in this order where you went to like the newest thing first and then you did the older parts later?
I was a little concerned that everything else was going to be ruined after going to Epic, because that is a beautiful park. And I realize that it's brand new, and so everything is still fresh and shiny and, whatever. But it was just really cool how you went in through that, like you couldn't see anything really from like it was behind the portal when you were outside of it. And then you went in and then that's all you could see. So it really felt so incredibly immersive. And I don't know, it was really, really neat, especially the Harry Potter and the Nintendo parts. I will say the Nintendo part during the day when, all the kids are there, like I needed a sensory deprivation chamber after that. There was so much color and noise happening around us that it was a little overwhelming at first. It wasn't overwhelming with people, like the number of people. It was just, I think because the walls are so high, it's holding in all of that sound.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an adjustment for my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I was worried we would be ruined, but I think we had like reasonable expectations that like the whole thing wasn't going to be like this, but the way they were cool in their own right. But yeah, it was kind of the way it just landed that we ended up at Epic first, because that was the only day that we could get our individual tickets. But again, I'm glad we did it that way so that we had our full energy level for 12-hour day.
Yeah. It's just in the original parks, the juxtaposition of the Harry Potter stuff to everything else is pretty stark. It feels like very detailed and immersive versus not. I mean, not unlike Galaxy's Edge versus parts of Hollywood Studios, to be honest. But I didn't know how it felt to go from a brand new park then to older parks in kind of the same way.
Yeah, it was something we acknowledged was like a difference. Like, and we were anticipating that we needed to set our expectations accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the Harry Potter stuff was what I was looking forward to the most, and it met my expectation. So
good. So overall thoughts on Universal? You think you'll be back in the future?
I think so, mostly because my husband and my daughter are such like roller coaster people. And while there are some, good rides at Disney, like they're more in like we would like, extremes kind of people. And so we will, and obviously I have to take Barrett back to go ride that Mario ride because what kind of mother would I be?
It didn't happen. That's how they get you.
I'm telling you.
And they said you got to come back if you want to do it.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, a reminder that your digital life is always at risk. Every day, hackers steal identities, drain bank accounts, and open fraudulent accounts. LifeLock is here with tips to help prevent you from becoming a victim. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report scams, and update the software on your devices. And for peace of mind, get LifeLock. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Plus, LifeLock plans include the $1 Million Protection Package, meaning LifeLock will reimburse you to your plan's limits if you lose money due to identity theft. Stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected. Get comprehensive identity protection with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. That's LifeLock.com, promo code NEWS for 30 days free. Terms apply.
Okay, let's start talking about your Disney World Park days. Wednesday, October 8th, you have plans at Epcot.
We did. This was the hottest day of the whole trip, which is always a joy. I'm not sure that there's anywhere hotter than Epcot than maybe Animal Kingdom.
World Showcase is especially hot. Because at least the front part of the park, which I refuse to call by its actual names, there's individual buildings that I feel like you can at least go into for a little bit. But World Showcase, it's like we're meandering in the sun.
Yes.
But anyway.
Totally agree. We were very tired when we woke up this day. So there was some rallying that had to be done on the part of everybody. So we got on the bus at 9:00 from Shades of Green. We didn't get to leave until 9:15. And we arrived at the Ticket and Transportation Center and immediately boarded the monorail at 9:30.
We'll take you to the TTC. Interesting.
Yes.
I was picturing you being taken to the bus parking lot because some non-Disney buses go there as well.
Oh, okay. No, that is where we went. But thankfully the monorail was waiting, like it was right there. And so we were able to zip on there pretty quickly.
I guess it's efficient for them because they can take, if you're going to Magic Kingdom or Epcot, they can take you to the TTC.
Right. Because they have fewer buses. So we were in line to scan into Epcot only to realize that I really did need to validate those tickets. I thought that because I was able to assign my park days, I don't know why I thought that, but I thought I didn't have to. So then we had to get out of that line and leave and go to guest relations, which thankfully was a super fast line.
And this was because these were the military tickets.
Correct.
That had to be validated. And you did the same thing Universal.
Yes.
But you were just thinking you didn't have to here. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. I don't know why that was the status of my brain, but that's where we were. So thankfully they were super helpful at guest relations. We got that wrapped up pretty quickly. And we were inside the park and scanned into our first Lightning Lane of Mission Space at 10:15. They chose orange, Mars.
Did you?
Your girl did not ride. No. I went through the intro thing and then they escorted me out.
You said chicken exit, please.
Yes. Bok. And so we had, and the first thing my husband said to me when they exited was, "You made a smart choice. There is absolutely no way you would have made it through there." So they rode that, and then we were out by 10:45.
And then you are using Standby Skipper. So
Yes.
at that point, it can start searching, right?
So we tapped in, and I immediately asked it to pull for Test Track because that was one that I had not grabbed. And it pulled us one. By the time they'd exited, it had grabbed us one for 2:30 that afternoon.
Okay.
And so we then walked over and tapped into our Lightning Lane for Guardians at 10:57. And I rode it. That was one of the rides that I was like, we will go through this. This is a ride I have to ride, even if it ruins me for the rest of the day. And it was amazing. I wish that the line had not been so long. I would have gone on it again and again. We had the best time on that ride. And we got Everybody Wants to Rule the World, which is the song that Barrett wanted, which made me so happy. Made me so happy.
It's my favorite, and I rarely get it. But when you talked about spinning earlier, that one definitely has a spinning element to it as it spirals around the planets, moons, whatever it is.
It does, but I think because it's just kind of doing this rather than doing this, then I can still...
And to people listening, she's going side to side versus
Sorry.
spinning around.
Yes, because it's just kind of tilting side to side for you to get a
Yeah.
different perspective. I can still keep my line of sight
Mm-hmm.
in the same place rather than like somebody spinning me round and round. So that was better. I was worried I was going to have to shut my eyes through the whole thing, but there was enough with like the stars and like the, galaxy stuff and the things happening around you that I could at least see what was going on. And there's something about that song that makes you just kind of like feel like you're
Yes.
ethereally floating through the ride, which was so
It's
cool.
euphoria. I need more people to understand the euphoria of that song and those movements together. It's so fun.
Mhm.
I guess if you're motion sick, that totally misses you, but thankfully you weren't.
Yes. I was so glad that I was like giddy laughing out loud. Like I think my husband was laughing at me on the ride because he could tell I was having such a good time.
Mhm.
So I'm really, really glad that worked out. And we kept trying over and over to ride that again. And either the ride would be the line was so long. I tried to buy other lightning lanes individually and they were never available. And I was like, well, oh well. So we left there and we went into Connections for Starbucks and kind of a late breakfast, and which that whole section was not there the last time we were there. That is so lovely.
A lot of new stuff for you.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So we sat and had coffee, and then we tapped into Soarin' at 12:24. We were out at 12:55. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Though we didn't get like spritzed when the whale hit the water, which I found strange.
I
Didn't
don't
we
think
used
that-
to?
I don't think so.
No?
Or at least if we did, it's been years.
Okay.
So it's the smells.
Yes.
And I
It's
feel
what-
like that ride I don't know if you ever went when it was the old Soarin' where the orange smell came out.
Yes.
And now I feel like the smell that most people remember is the grass, like fresh grass.
Yeah, maybe it was that. There was one smell that I remember like looking over at my daughter and saying, "Oh, do you smell it?" But because my husband has no sense of smell, so he doesn't get that part of the ride. But yeah, I can't remember what the smell was that I remember smelling. But yeah, I do remember the oranges.
Yeah, the smells are, I don't think the water is, but I understand why someone would think they were going to be splashed since it's right in your face.
Yes. Yes. And I think the smells are part of why that ride doesn't bother me,
Mhm.
because I think it's like connecting other senses so that I'm not just visually, and it's also not like going up and down and side to side. It's just kind of like coasting forward, which is good. And so then we were out of that at 12:55, and then we tapped into Remy's at 1:15, and we had a couple of like kind of weird stops on the ride where we just kind of like hung out under a cabinet for longer than we should. So I'm not sure what
And
was
that
going
doesn't
on.
bother you either. So the screens aren't an issue.
No, the screens bother me if we are like if it goes super fast or like you go over like a waterfall kind of situation, like anything that's not just going kind of forward, like just a little bit forward and back or side to side, that's gonna end me. So I think there was one spot on Remy's that I have to shut my eyes and then it's over. But other than a couple of little delays, it was pretty quick, and we were out at like 1:40, and then it was time for food and wine. At least a little bit.
And it was hot.
It was so hot. So we did not get as much to eat that day as we had planned,
Mm-hmm.
because the standing in the sun and eating hot food is just not a joyful combination. So we stopped at the Alps stand because we wanted to have raclette, which for those of you who don't know what that is, it is it's a pungent smelling cheese that it gets melted and poured over like small potatoes and bread and ham. And it is magical. It's typically eaten like in the winter months around the holidays. We used to have a raclette table and we would have it at home. We love it, love it, love it. And it was the cheese and the bread and the potatoes were all super on point. The ham was a little disappointing. And they gave it to you in like these giant deli slices. So you really had to have like a table and a knife to like be able to maneuver it. So that was a little obnoxious. Like execution, they needed to change that just slightly bit. But otherwise, it was great.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got a dunkel beer from the beer and pretzel stand. And then we were going to go to the Mexico one because the menu there looked really good. But again, the hot food in the sun, not great. We were like, we'll come back to Epcot at some point later this week and eat more. And so we headed to Test Track because we'd grabbed that through Skipper earlier. And I had not tried to go grab anything else yet because there wasn't really anything else. Oh, I take that back. I tried to grab Frozen, but it was down for a really long time. And so, it was more of a like forced nostalgia from the parents to the children because my daughter like was young at that time when Frozen like was huge and she was obsessed. And so we were going to try to ride it just for fun. But so we kind of let that one go because it was not opening up. But we did Test Track. We got in there about 2:30ish and we were out by 3. And it was fun. It was interesting. It was not necessarily what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
And going 0 to 60 in a convertible is an experience.
It is.
And then we went by Guardians because we were trying to we purchased the photo pass for the week. And so we wanted a picture out in front of that. And right as we walked up, the photographer was like, I have somebody's lost bag I have to go return. I won't be back for probably 20 minutes. And we were like, oh my God, never mind. So we left and headed to the exit, and we went ahead and just called an Uber to get back to Shades of Green because we were trying to be thoughtful on time and not monorail back and then wait on the bus. And then, so I was bougie and I ordered an Uber. And we got back to the hotel just before 4 o'clock. But while we were doing that, we had already planned to go to Magic Kingdom that evening because that was the only night that we were going to get the Starlight Parade.
In between parties and stuff, you mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the only like Disney day, like of our Disney park days. It was the only one that we were going to be around, and it wasn't a Halloween night that we would be able to actually see it. And since we'd never seen the light up parade before, that was a high priority for me. So I forced my people to do it with me. So I went ahead and got Skipper to get us Small World and Tiana for those to get Lightning Lanes. I tried pulling Winnie the Pooh because I've never been able to make it on that ride. It's always either been down or like the wackiest things have happened. And so I was like, well, I'll just let it sit there and hopefully we can pull one for later. And so we went ahead and headed to the room and grabbed the other 3, grabbed their swimsuits. And we headed over to the pool and we grabbed a quick lunch at the sports bar thing that was right next to it. And then I left them there at the pool swimming, and I went back to the room and got us packed up because we were leaving. We were checking out the next morning. And so I wanted to get as much done as I could. And so we then called a lift for the TTC at 6:15, and we got on the monorail and walked into Magic Kingdom just before 7. So it was a short break, but it was a good break.
Yes. Well, you needed a break after all the walking you'd been doing.
We did.
So you had taken a bus previously to the TTC. How often did the buses run from Shades of Green?
They said approximately every 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We honestly ended up not using the buses enough to like test that theory.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were the times that we were kind of coming and going, it was more, our time was more valuable to us than saving the $10 on an Uber. And so we just felt it was worth it a lot of the time to just do that rather than waiting and seeing how long it took for us to get a bus back.
Okay. Makes sense.
So we stopped for a photo in front of the castle. There were 8 gajillion people in the park. That was probably the busiest I saw any park was Wednesday evening at Magic Kingdom. And I'm sure it's because there were Halloween parties Thursday and Friday night. And so everyone was packing it into Wednesday.
Yeah. That's the only chance they had to see the parade and the fireworks.
Right. So we went to Small World and tapped in at like 7:15. We were out in 20 minutes. And then we walked to Frontierland, thanks to your glorious advice, to grab a parade spot. So we ended up right in front of the hat shop, kind of next to Pecos Bills. And that was a lovely spot because we could like step up on the riser to kind of see over the tall people in front of us. And it was, they were close enough, like we weren't like super far back away from the parade. So it was a really, really good spot. So highly recommend. We grabbed some snacks to keep people from losing their minds and watched the parade, which was lovely. We had great weather. It was so great.
Would it be true you've never seen a nighttime parade at Magic Kingdom?
Correct, because the old one had stopped like months before we went on the trip last time. And so I was really excited to get to see that one. And it was fun. It's fun. And then once the parade was over, we left for Tiana, and we were in at 8:40, out by 9:10. Got more wet than I expected we were going to get because like we were watching people get off and like, oh, they don't look all that wet. Dear listener, that we were wet.
Dear listener, which row were you in?
The second. The people in the front row and it wasn't so much the initial going down in the water, it was the blowback from like the water movement. But the people in the row in front of us was this couple, and they had said, they were like, we didn't bring anything because they had just dropped everything off at back of their room. And they got full on water in the face. I felt so bad for them. They were drenched. And so when we were on the ride, Happily Ever After had started. And so we were getting fireworks while we were on the ride, which was fun. And then we exited and kind of watched the tail end of that, which was maybe not the smartest move, because then we kind of like made it to the hub right as the show ended. And then you couldn't move anymore.
Chaotic.
It was, I don't remember the last time I saw a crowd like that anywhere. It was a little unnerving. It was a little scary, to be quite honest. And so we ended up just hopping on the porch at Crystal Palace and just waited until it thinned out some. And then when it did enough, we kind of maneuvered our way on the porches and kind of in and out of shops and whatnot. And so, yeah, it was chaos.
Chaos. I did a YouTube video about the parade and fireworks crowds, and I used the word chaos so much that I had to edit it because it was too repetitive. But I'm like, that's the word. That is the word.
Where is thesaurus.com with other words for chaos? Because there is really no other. It is, oh my gosh.
It is.
It was absolutely crazy. It was absolutely crazy. People were getting angry. Like, there's one way in and one way out. Where are we going to go? Like, what do you, anyway. So we finally got out of the park at like 10. And we ended up walking to Bay Lake Tower and having a Lyft pick us up there. Because the idea of standing and waiting for any other form of transportation felt like a big fat no. So we got picked up there. We were back to the room at like 10:30 and in bed by 10:45.
Hey, another long day. But the next day was Thursday, October 9th, and you were moving to the Poly.
Yes. So we were up and packed and checked out and everything loaded into the truck by 8:15. And we drove across the street and dropped up all of our stuff with Bell Services, parked the truck, went in and had breakfast at Kona. Sorry, I lost my place in my notes. So we had an 8:40 reservation. We were probably seated just before 9. Made the mistake of ordering our own individual Tonga toast. So there was no way in the world we were going to eat all of that. But everything we had was absolutely delicious. Service was great. And so then we got on the monorail at 10:30 to head over to Magic Kingdom. And we kind of did some pictures and some shopping and some whatnot wandering around. And then we tapped into Tron because we'd booked our lightning lanes intentionally for later in the morning because I wasn't sure how long breakfast was going to take. And so we tapped into Tron at 11:25 and we were out by 11:45. That was a super fun ride. We all really liked it. I wish it were longer. Felt really short for, like, I don't know.
It is.
Especially if you're waiting in a long line.
Exactly.
Like, that is, Like, I was grateful that we did not wait in a long line, because if I had waited in all that and it was this that would have been frustrating.
Exactly.
But anyway, but the ride was really cool, and we got some fun pictures off of it. And then the kids both made custom phone cases in the Tron shop, which was a darling little souvenir. And then we headed over to Fantasyland, and we had our lightning lanes for this day were really kind of stacked. So as the week goes on, I am more and more grateful for that 2-hour window on the back end, because the way I stacked them and our ability to keep up was not as aligned as the week went on. But that's okay. It all worked out. So we tapped into Seven Dwarfs at noon, and we were out by like 12:18. So it was super fast. And everywhere we were going, the waits were at least an hour, if not 75 or 90 minutes, which was surprising because it was a party day.
Party day, yeah.
And I think that kind of wavered as the day went on. And I think people just were trying to do Magic Kingdom in the morning, maybe, and then park hop.
It's also the beginning of a lot of people's fall breaks. So the weekend, the busiest time I've ever been at Disney World was this weekend, the fall break time. So I'm just wondering if people were able to get there around this
early
this Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, that may have been it, because we went overall for our fall break, but the crowds from our week versus even just what we experienced like late Friday into Saturday, I cannot imagine being there this week. That would have been a completely different experience.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people have spring break locked in their head. Like, that's when it's busy at Disney World, or summer. And that's not necessarily true depending on when you go, but they don't think fall breaks can be busy. But fall break is the new spring break.
Apparently so. Apparently so. So we left Seven Dwarfs and we went to Pirates, because like the rest of our lightning lanes worked out, we needed to like kind of go out and then work our way back in. So we got onto Pirates at 12:30, and we were out within 20 minutes. And then we walked over to Haunted Mansion and got in there just before 1. And we're out in about 25 minutes because we ended up having a delay on the ride, which my son likes the ride for the most part, but he does like scare pretty easily, especially like in the parts that are really dark. And we were stuck on the ride for a little bit, and I don't know what was going on, but it wasn't more than like 3 or 4 minutes. But I was sitting with my daughter, and so he was with my husband in the dune buggy in front of us, and I was just going, "Oh my gosh, I hope he's okay," because he was just like, "Oh, for all the rides for you to be stuck on," but it was quick. And then we headed back and tapped into Peter Pan at 1:30, and there was a delay while we were in the line, and then there were 2 more while we were riding the ride, where we just kind of got stuck, like hovering in the air, which, not like better than being stuck on like a coaster, but it kind of just messes with the experience of the ride of like flying through everything. So that was a little annoying. I don't know what was going on. It did seem to have it was down later in the day. So I don't know if that was the sign of things to come.
I'm hoping you got a Winnie the Pooh ride. Like, that one doesn't seem like, in general, it's not that difficult, but you've had some bad luck with it.
Yeah, we have never got it. We never got on it.
Never did.
No, I kept trying, and like I just had that sitting in Skipper trying to get it.
Okay, I'm gonna make a note to look at the lightning lane information about that.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it, but I could never seem to make one. And so after Peter Pan, we left and went back and took the monorail back to Polynesian because our room was ready. And so we left the ride at I think 1:45, and we headed straight out and had Bell Services meet us. We were staying in the farthest building, felt like on the other side of the planet. But the room was great, and they brought us our stuff quickly, and we got kind of settled in there. And then my husband and my son went to the pool. Sorry.
And I wanted to clarify, you said furthest building. You mean on the end towards the TTC?
So we were, if I'm looking at the main building, we were all the way to the right
Mm-hmm.
in the
Which
like
is-
back corner.
Okay.
The Murray building, Maria something.
Mhm.
Which again, like it was a lovely building and everything was, the room was fine. It was just, navigating those paths and like figuring out where you're going and stuff was a little bit.
It is.
Wonky.
Yes, Maria. So yeah, we've stayed in that building before too. Yeah, so it's just the good thing about that is TTC is right there. So
I
if
don't
you
even
want
think I realized that.
yeah, it's really close.
Okay. So they went to the pool and my daughter took a nap and I left to head to Magic Kingdom to get in line for Jack and Sally. So I grabbed myself a Dole Whip. And so I was not mad to be on the monorail by myself with the and got into, I left, I think at 3:45 by the time we got everything settled and I was able to leave. And I was on the monorail at 4. I tapped into the park at 4:15, got my wristband for the party. And I was in line for Jack and Sally at 4:20 and the wait posted was 110 minutes. And I thought, great, this is fine. And thankfully, I didn't also realize the line was indoors. And so it was loud. And at some point along the way, someone's child had a diaper explosion on the carpet. And rather than anybody cleaning it up, they just put something over it. So we all got to smell it for the whole 110 minutes, which was a delight. So the plan was I will get in line. They will get out of the pool, get cleaned up, and come over and get in line with me. Those punks rolled up when I was at the very front of the line. Like I had to let 2 families go past me because they hadn't shown up yet. So I bought myself extra souvenirs for all of my efforts. So they showed up and we went in at 10 till 6.
So it was I was trying to think how close to the 110-minute estimate it was.
So
But it's
I
still against
got
the
up to the front at 5:50. So that would have been
about an hour and a half.
it was about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we went in. It was such a great meet and greet. I had no idea that Jack talked. So that was super cool. And he really and I was worried because when we were at Universal, we walked by Scooby-Doo and all of the mystery, what are they called? All the characters from Scooby-Doo. My brain is not working. But my son has always loved Scooby-Doo. He's seen all of the episodes and all of the various seasons and all of the things. And so I thought, oh, great. So let's go take a picture with Scooby-Doo. And he would not do it. Like with the 3 of us went and got a picture with Scooby-Doo. And like Shaggy walked over and was like talking to him or whatever, trying to get him in the picture. And he wouldn't do it. He got so mad. And so when I waited in this line, I was like, if he does this to me, if he doesn't talk to Jack and if he walks off, I'm going to be so upset. But thankfully he was fine and he interacted with him and we got some really cool pictures. And so we left that and thankfully it rained while I was inside. So I didn't have to deal with the rain. And so when we had looked at the forecast, it was going to rain for that little window of time while I was in the line. And then it was going to be done for the rest of the evening.
Is that what you were manifesting it?
And that was the radar. That was everything.
Mm-hmm.
Is that's what was supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So we headed out of there and went to the party and got our treat bags. And then we went to Space Mountain. The 3 of them rode it while I, rested my feet after standing in line for Jack and Sally.
And was this after, what time was it this time?
So they went into Space Mountain at 6:20.
So at that point, was it the party version or the regular version?
It was party version. It was fully dark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
It was fully dark. And so they came out of that at just before 7. And then we stayed in Tomorrowland and got popcorn and ice cream. And the zombies stage show was happening right next to us. And so we my kids adjacently watched that for a little while. Like they wanted to watch it, but they didn't want anybody to know that they were watching it, kind of a situation. And so we watched that for a little bit while we ate our snack. And then we started trick-or-treating at Monsters Laugh Floor and the Carousel of Progress. And then it started to rain again. And so we got on People Mover, which was a walk-on at 7:30. And then the rain just kept getting harder. And of course, because when I had looked at the weather before we left the hotel, I had only brought one poncho because I was just going to use it to sit on for standing in line because I didn't know if the line was indoor or outdoor. I had assumed it was outside and I wanted to have something to sit on. And so we had to go into a shop and buy 3 ponchos. And so we got in line for, the plan was we were going to skip the first parade and go ride rides and then see the second parade. And so at 8:10, we got in line for Tron, which was like a 35-minute posted wait. And we were out in 25 because they really wanted to do that again. And then we went kind of underneath Tron and got candy. And that spit us out. You couldn't go back through the entrance. You had to go around. And so we had to go through Storybook Circus. And then my daughter wanted to ride the Speedway, the cars. And so we got in line for that at 9, and we were out of that at 9:20. And then we left to go get a snack and a spot for fireworks because we really wanted to be as close to the hub as we could.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, the crowds were super low. Unfortunately, the sky opened up again. Like it was like yellow and red on the radar. And so I took the kids, my husband stayed under his poncho to hold our spot. And I took the kids and ran over to Casey's to get, was it Casey's? No. Sleepy Hollow, and got them food. And we kind of ate under there because there's no way the food would have survived if we'd walked out into the rain. And then we ran back over at about 10 minutes till the fireworks were about to start. And thankfully they happened, but our shoes were just drenched. And so we had our ponchos, but our feet were drenched. And like the whole section of the show with the villains on the projection, the smoke from the fireworks was basically like coating the whole front of it. So you couldn't really see it. So that was frustrating. But we got to see most of it. The fireworks all went off. And at the end of that, like, they were all just real done. And when we looked at the radar, like the rain was just going to continue to be awful. And so I said, well, the parade starts at 11:15. Like, that's a solid hour from now. Like, do you all want to, we can stay and try. And they were so over it. And I think if it had been earlier in the week, we probably could have like powered through. But this was, day 5.
And the rain just aggravates everything.
Right. And I think if we'd had different shoes on, like if we were walking around in Crocs or flip-flops or Tevas or something, we probably would have been okay. But the walking in sponges thing was just, it was just too much. So we navigated in through Casey's Corner and kind of went through the shops and picked up the Halloween party merch that we knew we couldn't get any other time, and then headed back to the monorail and headed back to the Polynesian. So I was sad to not get the Halloween parade and to not get the experience like staying in the park till midnight.
Yes,
like we planned.
It's such a bummer. And it makes me sad that the party's still out so much, because it would be so nice to be able to buy party tickets if you were feeling up to it and if the weather was cooperating. But instead, you buy them months ahead of time and take the chance.
Just have to hope. Yeah. And of course, the next night, the party had perfect weather.
It's so random, and you just never know. I just hate that.
Yeah. So, but it's, the main things we wanted to do, like we wanted to meet Jack and Sally. We got to do that. We got to see the show. We got to ride some things. So all in all, not a total loss. And so we ended up placing an order for Captain Cook's and picking that up and eating, and then headed back to the room, and we were in bed by, I think, like 11:30. So
yeah, lots of busy days. I don't blame your family for being like, you know what, we're just tired and our feet are wet.
Yeah.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, a reminder that your digital life is always at risk. Every day, hackers steal identities, drain bank accounts, and open fraudulent accounts. LifeLock is here with tips to help prevent you from becoming a victim. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report scams, and update the software on your devices. And for peace of mind, get LifeLock. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Plus, LifeLock plans include the $1 Million Protection Package, meaning LifeLock will reimburse you to your plan's limits if you lose money due to identity theft. Stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected. Get comprehensive identity protection with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. That's LifeLock.com, promo code NEWS for 30 days free. Terms apply.
Friday, October 10th, you had plans for Hollywood Studios.
Yes. So we were up at 8.
Were you?
We were.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was up at 8.
Mm-hmm.
They followed slowly after. And I forgot to mention, after we'd had breakfast at Kona that next morning, my husband said, "That was so good. Can you see if there's a reservation tomorrow morning so we can try to eat there again? And we'll just share the toast this time."
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew that we weren't going to eat all of it. And so somehow there were a ton of reservations open. And so I snagged us one at 9:40. And so the kids and us, we split a couple of things, which was much more manageable. And then because it's just sometimes nice to have a good breakfast start to your day.
Yeah.
And so we were on the bus for Hollywood Studios at 11:15, and we tapped into the park at 11:40.
And you had a bunch of lightning lanes lined up.
We did. So we tapped into the Tower of Terror at 10 till noon. My husband was the only one who rode it, but we wanted to see the queue, and I also wanted to be able to start let Skipper do their thing. So we went ahead and asked for a runaway railway after we tapped into Tower of Terror, because that was not in existence the last time we were here. Pardon me. And then we had a lightning lane for Toy Story Mania next, but we found out that it was down. And so it was one that was just converted into use however you want to. And so we kind of sat on it for a minute, and then we were out of the tower just after noon at 10 after. And so we said, well, let's go ahead and head over to Toy Story Land, just because that's kind of where we were headed anyway. We'll see what happens. And it had opened back up. So we went ahead and used it and tapped in at 12:40. And we were out 30 minutes later, which I love that ride. And my sweet husband was taking pictures of me in front of every Jessie, anything, anywhere.
That's cute.
It was real sweet. And then we tapped into the Slinky Dog Dash, which we didn't get to ride last time because it was brand new and you could not get a Genie Plus whatever at the time, and the lines were so long. So that was the first time we got to ride that. And we were in at 1:20 and out just after 1:30. And that was such a fun ride. We really, really enjoyed that one.
Mm.
And Slinky Dog speaking Spanish in the instructions. That was one of the funniest things ever. And then we came out of there and walked out of Toy Story Land, and the Edna was out for a meet and greet in the building kind of just outside of there. And it was like a walk on. And she is my favorite Incredibles character. And so we went and got a photo with Edna, and then we headed toward Brown Derby and picked up ice cream because the temperature had dropped, but the sun was just baking us for some reason. It felt so hot. So while we sat in front of Brown Derby to eat our ice cream and had some fun character. Oh, and hang on. While we were waiting, we pulled Rock and Roller Coaster and Smuggler's Run and a railway. So we were able to grab some other things that we wanted, but they were all for after 7 o'clock. So they were definitely later in the day. But while we were sitting, we saw Jiminy Cricket, we saw Mary Poppins, we saw Pinocchio, we saw Bert and a Penguin.
What?
They all just happened to walk by us at various times while we were eating ice cream. It was
That's fun.
so great.
I think there's something magical about those random character interactions.
They were just walking by. They weren't doing anything other than waving, but it was still really sweet. Especially I had no idea that Jiminy Cricket walked around. And then we headed to Star Wars because we had a Rise of the Resistance Lightning Lane and tapped into that at 2:20, and we were out within 30 minutes.
What'd you think?
Oh, we love that ride. We rode that in California.
Oh, that's right.
And so,
It's the same land, same ride.
yes. And so that was a lot of fun. We really liked that one. And then we went back to Toy Story Land because when we were walking to Rise of the Resistance, Woody and Jessie were doing a photo thing. And I have never been able to actually meet Jessie. I have a picture with Woody and Buzz in my Jessie shirt, but I've never actually met Jessie. And so I was like, hello. But we were on our way to a lightning lane. And so I said, okay, well, I went and asked a cast member, like, how long are they going to be out, and all of that. So we knew what to do. And we had plenty of time. So I said, okay, well, let's go do Rise of the Resistance. We'll come back through and get in line so we can do the picture. And so we'll head to the next thing. Well, we got in line and it was probably going to be half an hour, which is no biggie. But after maybe 10 minutes, the cast member came by and said that Jessie had had too many cheese puffs and had a tummy ache and would not be back for the rest of the time. And I was real disappointed that I had not just stopped on our way to Rise of the Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
But, what do you do? So that was sad. And so we went ahead and left, since all of the rest of our Lightning Lanes for Hollywood Studios were that evening. We left at just before 3:30 and headed over to Epcot because we wanted to go back and eat. And the temperature had dropped some, so we were hoping it would not feel like the surface in the sun in the World Showcase. And so we did that on the Skyliner because we'd never been on that before either.
Yeah, and if you're not staying on the Skyliner, you kind of have to make a point to get on it.
Right. So we did that, which was lots of fun. And we hardly had any lines to get on it, both directions, which was really, really nice. And so we had food. We really toured the world. We had food in Belgium, in Greece, and then the rain kind of kept popping on and off. So we'd have to dash into a shop and for underneath the cover and kind of wait it out a minute, which we did pretty successfully. I was pretty impressed. And then we went back to the Alps to get more raclette. We went to Germany, which was probably one of the longest lines. And it was bratwurst and apple strudel. Is it just the beer that people are after? Because there's other places to get German beer. I don't know why that line.
I don't know. It is one of the most popular booths.
Anyway, we had Mexico, Hawaii, Canada, and Japan. So between the four of us, we all just kind of nibbled and ate and were stuffed by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we got a good sampling of stuff.
That is a good sampling.
It was very good.
There's so many booths. So
it was so many booths.
Yep. As long as anybody listening to this skips Italy and China.
Yeah, Italy did not the menu. We had gone, I think it was when we were in Epcot, the first day, that morning when we were standing in line for Soarin', we went back and looked at all of the menus and just kind of took snapshots of the ones we knew we were really interested in. And that was helpful to have that information ahead of time so we could not have to stop and read all the signs.
I mean, in general, Italian food, Chinese food, great. The booth's not great. So
yeah, it was just, the Italian was noodles and sauce. I was like,
and it's just it's expensive too.
Oh, is it? Mm-hmm. The line in France was really, really long too.
Very long.
And what they had on the menu did not look I've had escargot. It's fine. I don't know that I want escargot while I'm at Disney World, but to each their own.
We rope dropped it before because the line grows so long.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I think the one thing I was disappointed in was the margarita I got at Mexico. The tequila tasted really cheap. And I know that sounds snobby, but
no, it doesn't. I won't get a margarita there outside of the La Cava because I also think the tequila tastes cheap.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad it's not just me. So I was annoyed that I'd paid, all that money for a margarita and then didn't really drink it because I'm too old to drink bad tequila. And then, so we went ahead after we ate all of that stuff. We left Epcot by Skyliner again and went back to Hollywood Studios. We tapped into the park at 10 till 7, and we headed for Rock and Roller Coaster, which we had never been on before because the last time we were in Hollywood Studios, it was down. And I know they're, shutting it, well, they're transitioning it to be Muppets, which, again, child of the 80s. I love the Muppets. But I also adore Aerosmith. And so I'd always wanted to, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to ride it, but I at least wanted to go through the queue and kind of see all of it. And so we tapped in at just after 7, and we were out for, they were off the ride. It was just my husband and my son and my daughter that rode it. And they were out 10 minutes later, but somehow we missed each other, in the waiting area. And so they went out walking around trying to find us while we were waiting on them to get off the ride. And so we lost each other for about 20 minutes because I had both of their phones. So that was a joyous occasion. But the queue was really cute for what we saw of it from the lightning lane and whatnot. And
were you in the shop, the gift shop? at all?
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yes.
that's a good. I mean, a lot of gift shops are fun, but that was it. If
Yeah.
you're an Aerosmith fan, and it's fun.
Yeah. It was really cool. And then what did we do after that? Oh, and then we headed back to Galaxy's Edge, which is so cool at night.
Mhm.
And we tapped into Smuggler's Run just before 8 o'clock. Again, I did not ride because I knew better from the time we'd been there before. But the three of them rode it and loved it. And they were out within 20, 25 minutes. And then we stopped and got some incredible pictures from a PhotoPass photographer in front of the Falcon. One of them of my kids, I'm framing. They're both holding their lightsabers to their face. It's super cool. And then we split up to go get souvenirs because the kids each had one they were wanting that they had requested days before. And one was in Star Wars and one was back in near the Tower of Terror. So we just kind of ran and divided and conquered. And then we met back up at Runaway Railway and tapped in at 8:57.
With the 9 p.m. closure?
With a 9 p.m. closure. So yes, we were by the hair of our chinny chin chin.
Mhm.
And we were out of that by just before 9:20.
Mhm.
And that was a really cute ride. The only part of that, again, the screens, the only part of that I couldn't have my eyes open for was when they go over the waterfall.
Mhm.
That was not okay. But other than that, it was fun.
Mhm.
It was a really cute ride. And then the kids had been begging to ride a minivan because it's a unique concept. And of course, the last possible chance we had to do it, it was probably one of the most expensive things that it could have possibly been. So we took a minivan back to the Polynesian from Hollywood Studios. Our driver was lovely.
Mm.
She was from Wisconsin, so she was just that, Midwest, just delight of a human. And then we got dropped off at 2 minutes till 10 and walked straight through the lobby and went and sat down on the back and watched the fireworks, which was really fun. And then grabbed a late dinner snack. And we had wanted to go to the bar that's hidden behind that kind of door inside the Polynesian. We were going to leave the kids in the room and go to it. But that night there was a line already forming, outside in the hallway for, kind of a one in, one out.
Trader Sam's?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, we're too old for that to be trying to one in, one out a bar. So thankfully, there was a place around the corner where you can go outside and order your beverages to go. So we grabbed the kids' food and we grabbed cocktails and we just sat down outside there and let them eat. And we had our drinks. And that was really nice. And it was a little cold, honestly, which felt strange in Florida for it to be cold. It was, in our T-shirt and shorts, it felt kind of cool out.
Uh-huh.
And then we were in bed by 11:15.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then the next day was our last day.
It was Saturday, October 11th was checkout day, but you also had park time before heading out.
We did. So our first lightning lane booked for Animal Kingdom was at 8:15
Mm-hmm.
for the safaris, to which my husband looked at me like I had 3 hits, that I was expecting us to be up and on a bus and there to tap in at 8:15. So again, real thankful for that window on the back end. So we were up at 7 and we had packed up and loaded the truck and we're on the bus at 8:50.
Mhm.
So it wasn't terribly behind.
Not
Still
terrible.
behind.
I mean, you had 3 hours to tap in, so
Right.
you're still going to be at the front end of that.
Right. So we tapped into the park at 9:15, and then we stopped by wherever the Starbucks is called.
Creature Comfort.
That's what it is. I knew it was Comfort something. And grabbed that at like 9:35-ish. The line was nuts, but it went pretty quickly. I had the sweetest interaction. There was this woman who was there that we met in line. She was fully dressed as Jessie and had these sneakers on that had like a Jessie Woody kind of theme to them.
We need to talk about this because she's at Animal Kingdom.
She's in Animal Kingdom and she's dressed like Jessie. I wasn't questioning why she dressed. I don't know if they were hopping back over to Hollywood Studio Theater.
It's adorable. I just wouldn't expect it.
Yes. But she had it was like a dress and some kind of, and her ears, and then her sneakers were all
Sneakers.
Jessie. They were like an Adidas sneaker.
I didn't even know they had sneakers.
I didn't either. And so I stopped her because, again, like I have a Jessie doll right up there. And I have lots of other things. They're just put away. But I asked her where she got them, and she said she had bought them like off one of those kind of like secondhand Poshmark kind of situations.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, well, I'll have to look for them because they're really cute. And it went on about, ordering our stuff. And she came up to me at the end and she said, hey, she said, what shoe size are you? And I told her, and she's like, well, that's what these are. She said, I only bought these for this trip. Do you let me get your number and I'll send them to you when I'm done, when I get home. That way you can have them. And I was like, well, I'll buy them from you. Like, I'm not going to, you don't need to give them to me. But I just thought that was real sweet. Now, whether that happens or not, I don't know. But
I just sent you in the chat. Are these the sneakers that you had? The Toy Story Jessie sneakers?
No, I've seen those. But no, they were like a white. And then they had like the cow print around the bottom. And like, I should have taken a picture of them.
This is Poshmark. Okay. The ones that are available, we're just going on a tangent here, but I'm fascinated because I've never heard of these. But Adidas makes really... Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Adidas makes really cute shoes. Okay. So the first pair I sent her was orange with like the cow print stripes, but the one that is correct is more primary colors with the cow print on the bottom.
Yeah.
But Adidas makes cute shoes.
They do. My son has some Star Wars ones from Adidas that are too small for him now. He had them on our Disneyland trip, but like one was Dark Side and one was the Rebellion, like themed. Like they were like one was like blue stripes and one was red stripes. Adidas knocks it out of the park with the Disney shoes.
Cute.
Yes. So they were the second pair. So we'll see if she remembers to message me about the shoes. But I thought that was real sweet.
I hope she does.
I hope she does too. So we got our breakfast and then we tapped into the safaris just before 10. And I will say the temperature had dropped a solid bit. The crowds at Animal Kingdom that morning were also bonkers. Like in my wildest dreams, I did not expect Animal Kingdom crowds to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. But this, like, if that told me anything about what was to come for the next week, I knew all I needed to know that was not the week I would have wanted to go.
Yeah, I'm guessing Magic Kingdom was really nuts.
Yeah, if Animal Kingdom looked like that, I didn't even want to know what the rest of it looks like. So we tapped into safaris, but because the temperature had dropped, we had so many animals out. It was amazing. Like the row of women behind us, I could tell were like probably annual pass holders and go a lot. And they were just like, oh my gosh, so much pixie dust. Like, this is amazing. Like they were losing their minds about it. We had the giraffe, like one of the giraffes walked right by our cart. We had elephants. We saw 3 lions, like one of which was like way up on a rock. We had tons of like the antelope and cheetahs. And I mean, it was crazy the number of animals that we had out, especially because I was worried that it being later in the morning that they would have all kind of disappeared by that point. But because it was so cool out, they were all just basking in it. It was great.
Yeah, they were happy about it, just like you were.
Yes, exactly. So that was amazing. And so we were out of there about 10:35-ish, and then headed over to Pandora, which we had never seen because the last time we were there, that was brand new. And that was just a brand of chaos that I was not signing up for with a 5 and 2-year-old at that point. And to be fair, we have never seen the movie. We've never seen Avatar. it's not necessarily our vibe, but I really just wanted to see the land and like the creativeness of it all and whatnot. So we tapped into Navi River Journey at just before 11, and we were out of there at 11:15. And my family were just like, okay, what was that?
It's just pretty. It's just pretty.
It's pretty and relaxing. So that's all it was meant to be. And then we headed over to like the direction of Everest. And the last time we were there, we obviously had little kids. So my husband was the only one that rode it, but it was his favorite ride that we went on that whole time we were there. And so he really wanted to do it again. And after riding Guardians and Hagrid's earlier in the week, I thought, I think I can maybe do this. Like, I want to experience it too, which meant that everybody had to go because we weren't going to leave the little one by himself. And it also just kind of, he likes a coaster usually once he gets on it. It's just the getting him on it. That's sometimes the challenge. So all 4 of us rode it. We were in there by 11:30 and got pretty much straight on. And we enjoyed it. It was fun. I was not ready for the Yeti like arm to come down in the flashing. That got me for sure. No one had warned me about that part. And so that got me a little. But this poor sweet little girl behind us in the car behind us was maybe 6 or 7. And she was sobbing when we came out of the ride because she got really scared.
There are so many 5-6-year-olds that's how it ends. I used to make jokes constantly about parents accidentally traumatizing their kids on Dinosaur, Expedition Everest, and it's tough to be a bug because kids can go on it. They're tall enough.
Yeah,
but
now I felt so bad.
It is. It's hard, and it's a big ride. So it's it's a little surprising that kids that are pretty young can go on it. But
yeah. My other kind of gauge was like, if my bag is allowed to go at my feet, how probably we are. That means we're not going upside down. Like the Stardust racers at Epic Universe, you had to go through a metal detector. And like even if you had zipper pockets, you still had to take everything out because they didn't want something flying out and hitting somebody. So that's a level of intensity I know is not for me. So after that, we headed to the exit and we ordered a lift and then headed to Disney Springs at noon. And we were there at about 12:20.
Okay, so in my head, before this day, I thought you were going to drive to Animal Kingdom, but you left your car still at the Polynesian.
We did because I didn't like fully have my head wrapped around what the parking situation was like. And because the truck was already loaded and like all the stuff that would go in the bed was packed inside, it just didn't make logistical sense for us to do all of that. So we just decided to take a bus, and then we took a lift over to Disney Springs, and we went through the Christmas shop and spent too much money, and then the World of Disney and spent more money. And then that was also a place that was really crowded, and I'm sure part of it was that it was a Saturday. But we wanted to go into the Lego store because we are big Lego fans. We've been to the original Legoland and all of that in Denmark, all of stuff. But the line, I would venture, was probably an hour just to get into the store. It was,
wow.
So we decided that was not something for us. And we had a 1:45. We'd originally had a 2:45 reservation for homecoming. And then when we kind of got a better idea of our logistics, I looked to see if they had anything available earlier and bumped it back an hour, which was great because it gave us enough time to get there, kind of shop a little bit, and then go eat. The food was great. It was a little slow because they were really busy. And then we took a bus back from Disney Springs to the Polynesian. And then we had to the plan was to just head up to like a solid 3 or 4 hours north into Georgia to stay the night. But my daughter had a souvenir at Universal that she had hemmed and hawed over and didn't get, and then decided she desperately needed. And so because our passes for the military were essentially like a season pass through the end of the year, we could just pop back over there. So my husband pulled up into the Lowe's resort and dropped us off at the little walking path, which spit us out right by Margaritaville, which was really close to the Islands of Adventure entrance. And so we scanned into there and walked straight to the shop that she wanted her souvenir from and picked that up. and headed back, and we got the car, and we only made it to Gainesville and ended up staying the night at a hotel there and checked out their Chewies. Because
Another chewy.
another Chewies, because, a Texan's you can take the girl out of Texas, but, sometimes you just need some good Tex-Mex. So, and then we made it home on Sunday, like 7-ish.
And you're still recovering.
And we're still recovering. I feel like I'm still unpacking and trying to get everything where it goes. So, yes.
So overall, rainy, hot most of the time.
Yeah,
But-
not as hot as it could be.
Yeah.
Most of the rain was tolerable. Like, it was kind of spit at us. Unfortunately, the one day I needed it to not rain, it really came down.
It
but
did, yeah. But your family's troopers, because they persevered.
they really did.
And
They
you,
really did.
obviously.
Yes. But they really, they powered through. And I was surprised. I figured that at some point my son would have asked my husband to hold him or like carry him or something. And he kept with it. So
Yeah.
I was proud.
He's at that in-between age. He's like too big for strollers and maybe being carried, but also he's still kind of young. So,
Yeah.
so overall thoughts on Shades of Green?
So the room size is great.
Mm-hmm.
The location is nice. And the price obviously is incredible. The food options were really disappointing. The food wasn't bad, but it's priced like really similarly to like inside the park food. And I didn't think it was as good. And then of course the availability of like things being open at certain times. Like there's one like little store inside that has, all of the like a little bit of groceries and, toiletries and like things that you need. And it didn't open until 8 a.m. And then it would close at like 4 or 5. And so it was not convenient at all. Like if you were leaving to go rope drop a park and you needed to grab something in there beforehand, like that was not available. So some things like that were frustrating. The pool was good, but the ones at the Polynesian were better. And then
So I guess, would you stay there again?
I think it depends. If we were just doing Universal, I would not stay there. I would stay closer to Universal because that drive was 25 to 30 minutes without traffic. And that was a little bit obnoxious. Like I would try to stay somewhere that would be a little bit more convenient. And I think it would just depend on kind of our plan. Because on the other hand, Polynesian is beautiful, but I don't know how long we'd have to stay to enjoy the amenities enough to make the cost of it worthwhile to stay there for our whole trip. Like being on the monorail is great, but it's just so much more money that I don't know that we get enough out of it to make it worth that cost. So, there's pros and cons to both.
So then the Polynesian, it's pricey, but would you stay there again?
I think if I could get another good deal, like the DVC point kind of situation, we might. And I think if I were going to stay on the monorail, that's probably the one I would pick again. But I don't know. I mean, it's so much money, but so
I know.
expensive.
That's why you don't hear us staying deluxe that often.
Yeah. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we experienced it. But I think we'd really have to ponder kind of long and hard. And last time we were there, we stayed at the Port Orleans Riverside when the kids were little. I know I would not stay there again just because of the logistics of getting to the parks and how spread out it is. Like that I know would not be on my list again. The room was great, but the access to everything was really frustrating. But yeah, I don't know. Neither of them were like a slam dunk, like absolutely. And I will say, comparing Shades of Green to the military resort in Germany, like I don't know that it was as nice, which is kind of sad. So.
It is. I'm glad there was an affordable option for military families, but
Yes. And it was more quiet. I would say like the Polynesian, like especially the main area with like the stores and the restaurants and all of that stuff happening, it was a lot louder of an environment than say the lobby area, Shades of Green. So
yeah. All right. And then what about traveling this time of year?
I think if our fall break aligned again with the like the crowd calendars projections again, the way that it did this time, I think it was great. I think if our fall break were aligned for this week and not last week,
Mhm.
I would have absolutely not done it. And my kids are at ages now where I can't really pull them out of school to go travel like I used to be able to do when they were tiny. But I mean, temperature wise, it was still warm, but at least it wasn't like, middle of summer surface of the sun
Mm-hmm.
kind of. But we definitely had our share of humidity and heat.
Mm-hmm. It's how it tends to be there. But it does give you opportunities to get in the pool.
That's true. That's very true.
So,
That's
there's that.
very true. Yeah. Yes.
So, all
Exactly.
right. All right. Is there anything else on your trip that we haven't talked about?
I don't think so.
Total cost? Did you have any total cost to share about the post trip or the actual trip?
I have not gandered at my credit card bill yet. I meant to ask my husband to do that yesterday and I completely spaced. I would bet, I know our stay at Shades of Green ended up being about $1,300 for 5 nights plus parking, because parking was $17 a day. And then our DVC point rental was right around $1,150 for 2 nights. And then, of course, the party was about $800 and something. And then I talked to Ruthie about our ticket costs and all of that. So I would say we're probably like a 6 to 7 range when I calculate all the food and souvenirs and whatnot. But I don't like to think about those things. I like to just pay the bill and not pay attention because it makes me sad.
Yes, it's none of your business.
That's right. It's right. I'm just going to pay it off and just not look at it anymore. Yeah.
All right. All right. I had written a note to ask you about it since you had some pre-trip costs, but I
No,
didn't.
yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to share on all the
course.
notes that you took during the trip. Thanks, Jessie. I hope you enjoyed that trip report. Next week's episode is going to kind of pick up where that one left off in terms of timing, so you can kind of see how the crowds and weather and everything have worked throughout the month of October. But I hope you enjoyed this particular episode. If you want to hear more, we kept talking on Patreon in the after chat, including talking a lot about their moves because they've been moving around the world for military reasons and all their sort of Disney-related travel as a result of that. So if you would like to listen or watch that, it is up on Patreon now. That will wrap up this episode of WDW Prep To Go. For more information, please check the show notes in your podcast app or head to the website WDWPrepSchool.com. Click on podcast at the top, scroll down to episode 485. Until next time, I will see you on the site.
Hi, I'm Chris Gethard, and I'm very excited to tell you about Beautiful Anonymous, a podcast where I talk to random people on the phone. I tweet out a phone number, thousands of people try to call. You talk to one of them, they stay anonymous. I can't hang up. That's all the rules. I never know what's going to happen. We get serious ones. I've talked with meth dealers on their way to prison. I've talked to people who survived mass shootings. Crazy funny ones. I talked to a guy with a goose laugh, somebody who dresses up as a pirate on the weekends. I never know what's going to happen. It's a great show. Subscribe today, Beautiful Anonymous.